All right, peace, peace. I want to say peace. Um, I should be live, and just want to say peace. Give anyone a chance to tune in and be notified who subscribe and have the time to hang out with me for a little bit. Um, this is your brother Wujau. Someone say peace, and if someone could do me a service and let me know that I could be heard. All right, I always like to check that out. Don't want to sit here and talk to myself. So, um, someone in the chat. So peace, Queen Jet Black, Destro 0861. Peace to you. If someone could just confirm for me and let me know that I could be heard. All right, just want to make sure. Okay, all right, good. I could be heard. All right, so I'm just going to kind of talk a little bit, give people a chance to tune in who are going to tune in and hang out with me for a little bit. Again, this is Brother Wujau. Welcome to my channel, by the way. I hardly use my channel. I've been a YouTube user for a long time and never really used my own channel. And so if you look at my archives, I started to use my channel when I had discussions on actually ongoing discussions, but particularly dealing with ADOS. So if you look at the archives on this channel, you'll see videos dealing with ADOS. So check them out if if that's something that you're interested in and can benefit from or want to learn from or whatever the case is. But I'm doing this live now as a continuation of the live I did 2 days ago, the other night. And so it's on the subject of SARS-CoV-2 and COVID-19. So SARS-CoV-2 being the virus itself, COVID-19 being the disease that it causes. All right. And so I'm just continuing the conversation, being a voice of reason in the midst of the chaos, the confusion, the misinformation, and the noise that's out there. All right. I don't proclaim to be a doctor or an expert or specialist in the field of virology, epidemiology, or any of that. Um, Although I have relatives who are, but I don't pretend to transfer their expertise over to me and make me some kind of um, medical guru or anything like that. So I'm having these discussions to be a voice of reasoning and to share information and to show people a way of looking at the information. All right. And so take what I'm saying, definitely investigate, do your own research and things like that. All right. So I always want to make sure that I put that out there. And also share this video if you think somebody's interested in this topic. So tonight I'm going to talk about what I promised I was going to talk about last time, which are these numbers. A lot of the conspiracy theorists out there, I mean, it's a long list of things that they're claiming and saying. I really can't keep up with it. But some of the prominent things that are being said, I've addressed either on my Facebook post, in many conversations I've been having, and then here now on these few videos. So I'm going to post a link into the chat here. So I just posted the link. Now this link is for you to come in where I am and have a discussion with me. I don't want to be the only one doing the talking. So if you are up to it, you're invited. It's open. You can come on in and share information or join in on the conversation with me about this topic. All right. So tonight I'm going to talk about the numbers that a lot of people misconstrue or utilize or interpret wrongly. All right. So that's the link. So, if you want to come on in, you don't have to have your camera on or anything like that. I don't have mine on. So as long as you can be heard, you can come on in. And I will be monitoring the chat because I like interaction. So that's why I'm posting the link. So I'm posting a few more times and then I'm just going to dive on in. But I hope everybody's doing all right, doing good, actually, doing excellent health and all that good stuff. All right. So I think I've bought myself a bit of time for people to tune in. And I appreciate anybody's tuned in. So if you were tuned in 2 days ago, 2 nights ago, I was live, and you can see the title of that particular live was about the coronavirus being a hoax. Um, let's see, what was the title? Whether it was a hoax, fake stats. Oh, and then masked or not masked. Okay, so that was the topic the other night, and so I didn't really go into on the numbers issues, the stats. So that's why I want to kind of focus on tonight. So again, feel free to come on in and join me. All right. I don't want to be the only one talking because people say I'm boring because I'm like technical. I'm a nerd. All right. So I'm not going to be gimmicky. I'm not going to entertain you. I'm not going to, you're not going to hear any sound effects and all that other good stuff. That's not my cup of tea. Although I like entertainment, I like to joke, I like all of that good stuff. But I think it's a time and place for that, and I like to have fun while being nerdy anyway. So, but anyway, so I'm putting a link up, putting a link up, putting a link up, putting a link up, because I have a feeling that I might be the only one talking tonight. So there's no excuse. There's a link. So, and I say so a lot, but peace to everybody. Okay, I would do a roll call, but I'll probably be here all night. Aaron Edwards, Kahari, uh, Troy, Count Troy, High Five, Monica, Mo, Hotep, Queen Black. Oh, wait a minute. I done spoke her into existence up in here. All right. So I saw you. I didn't know you came in. All right.
Hotep say Joe.
All right, Hotep. All right. So you here for round two. All right, for part two. Listen, Mo. I want to say this before I jump in though. Listen, I don't catch your shows live while you're live, but I watch them um as much as I can after the fact, and the information that you're sharing and stuff like that is really really good and important. And I just see that there's not that many people that you would think that would be interested in that. And so I don't know if people were like myself. Okay, I'm not tuned in live, but I catch it after, and maybe they do too. But I don't know. But I'm just saying, the information you have going on is important. I mean, financial independence, all that stuff, the credit, the access to money and stuff like that you go through, and especially with Africa Emporium and the investments in terms of the stock market, cryptocurrencies, and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I don't know if people recognize that enough, but I just want to tell you that I recognize it and I see it. So just want to tell you that.
Oh, greatly appreciated. It's I'm boring too. When you get in training mode, and it has is a significant impact, whether life or death or finances. You have to take your time with it. And initially when I started, I was talking over people's heads, and so I like scaled all the way back to beginner level. And I said, I know people is not going to really, you have to really have an invested interest in it in order to sit through it. And then to be in a training environment and stay the long haul is a whole nother animal. And so what I did this year, a little different, is focus a lot on investments, and particularly into the market and how to read the charts, do the technical analysis and the functionality. That's attributed to you all in the Amara Squad on doing your research, demonstration, be conversation, right? And I'm
Right.
totally impressed with the journey. So and I hope, and then so we have a few new people that come in every now and again, and so it helps sharpen your skill. And in the meantime, we get to make money and make money moves. So I'm appreciative, and coming from you, I greatly appreciate you watch my after shows. I'm trying to shorten them up a little bit, so and not go
Yeah.
so long, but you get
But
excited sometimes.
yeah. Well, I'm the same way. I try to keep them short, and I usually kind of scrub through the videos and listen to key points and stuff like that. I've gotten kind of good at that. But all right, so I want to jump in, right? So this is a continuation of the conversation before, and I was hoping Unbiased would be around to pop in and everything. So I want to just jump in because I don't want this to be too long either. So the topic I want to discuss are fake numbers, the accusations of fake numbers. Now people say it differently, but let me just give a quick little backdrop of my interaction with this topic. Um, I've been doing work, professional work for people in the health industry for quite a few months now, in terms of the projects I've been doing. And so technical work. And so because we're in the middle of a pandemic, a lot of the chatter and the conversation is centered around COVID-19, and all of that good stuff. So a lot of people in the health profession, they are moving towards telemedicine, seeing patients virtually instead of in the office and things like that. So that's the kind of work I've been doing, helping these medical practitioners and people, companies, to move in that direction, or be part of team giving the advice or operating technical aspects of that. All right, so that's where I'm plugged in. So I hear these conversations, I participate in these conversations, I get involved with arguments, debates, professional, on a very professional level, in terms of conversations with these things. So I hear it all the time. And so all I'm doing, as of late, is just to address the key things that I've been hearing. So, it's a lot of conspiracy theories out there, a lot of misinformation. There's some good information as well. All right. So I just wanted to give, a bit of context of my interactions with this. So I want to address the fake numbers claim. So there's a lot of people out there that say that the overarching claim is that COVID-19 or SARS-CoV-2 or the coronavirus is not serious. It's not as serious as they, quote unquote, they are making it out to be. And that's been claimed a lot. I see it written on Facebook. I hear it. People say it. Okay. It's not serious. More people die of the flu. More people die of other things, gunshot, crime, and they'll start listing a whole bunch of things that people die from as a support of their statement that COVID-19 is not that serious, or not serious as people make it out to be. All right. What they call in the stock market, people, when things are exaggerated and people buy into it. FOMO. Is it FOMO?
Oh yeah. Mhm.
Or
Yep.
whatever, fear of missing out, or something like that. They call it FOMO, whatever.
Mhm.
Well, that's their version of FOMO. They're saying that people are claiming that, okay, these numbers are hyped up, they're skewed, they put spins on it to put this fear tactic in people, to get people to do things, to so we can give up our freedoms and our liberties and all this other kind of stuff. This is all wrapped up into the same claim about these numbers. Okay, so I want to go through over some numbers. So I briefly went over them last time. So I'm gonna pick up from there and then move forward. All right. And so I know, Mo, you were here last time, and you asked some really good questions. So you may have some for now. So one of the numbers that I want to dispel again, I did this last week, but I'm gonna do it again because it's gonna lead us into some new information. So one of the numbers is that the claims that people always would like to compare the coronavirus with the influenza or flu, the seasonal flu. People mistakenly make that comparison. Now, when you talk to the experts that actually study this as their profession, and they do this all day, every day, they understand why it's detrimental to compare this novel coronavirus or SARS-CoV-2 to the seasonal flu. And one of the main things that sets it apart, one of the things that will validate people's comparison. So let me go that way first. What will validate some people's comparison is are the symptoms that COVID-19 produce and the seasonal flu produce. They're similar. So this is where people say, okay, flu-like symptoms. And so if you compare side by side the symptoms that's been reported for the flu and for COVID-19, you'll see that they overlap. Even with allergies, there'll be a lot of things that are overlap. But that's where the similarity ends. Okay, because there are two different categories, and also the numbers are nowhere near the same or similar. So what I did briefly last week, I'm just gonna do it again briefly now. So here are the numbers. And Mo, can you tell me if you can see my screen? I just want to make sure that my screen.
I can see it.
Okay, so make sure it's switching for everybody. All right. So here are the numbers for the seasonal flu. These are the most up-to-date numbers. Now, this is coming from the CDC website. All right. 2019, 2000 to 2020 influenza season, the flu season. All right. And these are estimates, preliminary estimates based on the numbers from October of last year to February 4th of this year. All right. So I use these numbers the other night. Same thing. So all this is saying is that you have 4 blocks here. The top left block is giving you numbers about the illnesses, the flu illnesses, 39 million to 56 million. Medical visits, 18 million to 26 million as a result of the flu. And then hospitalizations as a result of the flu, 410,000 to 740,000. And then deaths as a result of the flu or related to the flu is between 24,000 and 62,000. So what I did last week, the other night, is I took the highest numbers in each of these blocks. But there's 2 blocks to use when trying to determine the mortality rate of the flu. So you take the number of illnesses, and I use the larger number, 56 million, and you take the number of deaths, 62,000. That's why you see these numbers in red up here. So 62,000 deaths related to the flu out of 56 million illnesses. So you divide that and you come away with this decimal figure, 0.0011, and you translate that to percentage, and that's 1/10 of 1%. Okay. So it's 0.11%. And that's 1/10. If I round it, it's 1/10 of a percent. All right. That's the mortality rate. So I want that to sink in. All right. Now, in terms of the coronavirus, we're going to do the same thing. Now, the other day I used numbers. Let's go back to the numbers I used the other day, because these numbers are updated on a daily basis in real time, actually, on some websites. But here are the figures I used last week. So we had, and this is just the United States. Again, this information, these numbers are coming from the CDC website. All right. There are other sources that you can use. There's a website called worldometer.info, also Johns Hopkins Hospital and CDC, and then there's some other websites, and you have the WHO, World Health Organization, and information that you could find there. I'm particularly focused on the United States. So the CDC is basically the statisticians for this kind of information. This is where you go. All right. So here are the numbers as of July 6th. So we had total number of deaths was 129,811. Total cases in the United States, 2,886,267. So you divide those two numbers, you see in red, you divide those two numbers, and you get a decimal figure of 0.0449. Translated, that's 4.49%. Okay, and if you round that, it's 4.5%. So the mortality rate for the coronavirus or COVID-19 is 4.5%. The mortality rate for the flu is 1/10 of 1%. That is a huge difference, even though it doesn't sound like a big difference. But 1/10 of 1% versus 4.5%, is a very, very, very big difference. If you were a banker, or dealing with finances, and you had a an interest rate of 4.5% versus 1/10 of 1%, trust me, that 1/10 of 1% uh interest rate would be the way to go every day, all day, hands down. All right. But so that's the difference between the numbers. So just in that alone, I don't even have to go any further. That alone should tell you and show you that there's no comparison between the flu and COVID-19. The numbers alone. Now, a lot of people are not, um they're not, what do you call it? Because I don't want to sound like I'm beating anybody down or anything like that. But the like figures like this, we don't pay attention to this. And so when we hear them and we see the numbers, it doesn't really sink in or hit us of its significance. And so people will look at these numbers, and it'll go in one ear out the other. It's really not a big deal. But those who are, um they pay attention to numbers, they were good in math, they know about exponents and all this other kind of stuff, percentages and things like that. It is very, very significant, and it's a big difference. 4.5% is a big difference from 1/10 of 1%. So anyway, that's what I was saying last week. All right, and I just wanted to reiterate that that's a huge difference. And so, a mistake that people are using when they're trying to do these numbers that I just showed, and I saw this on Facebook many, many times. They're taking the total population of the United States, which is currently 331 million, approximately 331 million people, and they're looking at the total number of deaths due to coronavirus or COVID-19, which as of July 6th was 129,811, and they're doing the math that way. If you do the math that way, it's going to produce a decimal figure of 0.0003, which is 300ths of a percent, which is very, very, very small. And so they're using this number to say, the COVID-19 is not that serious. It's only 0.03% mortality rate. It's no big deal. It's like the flu. People going to get over it. The survivability is 99.97%, because they're taking this away from 100%. They're saying the survival rate is 99.97%. So it's no big deal. And if that was how you do it, then that would be a beautiful thing. They would be correct. But that's incorrect to do the math that way. All right. You don't take the total population and the number of deaths. You have to take the number of those who are infected versus out of those infections who dies to get the accurate number. All right. So I pointed that out, and I'm reiterating that again. So if you take the accurate numbers and you see the difference, so you have 1/10 of 1% versus 4.5% for COVID-19. That's the two. So they're not comparable. All right. So now all I did was to update that for the data as of today. This is July 8th. Same thing, same way to do it, same formula, but the numbers are different because the cases have changed. All right. So now the mortality rate is different. So remember, look at the mortality rate 2 days ago. The mortality rate was 4.49% as of 2 days ago. As of today, it's 4.39%. So the mortality rate in 2 days, it went down 1/10 of a percent. 1/10 of 1%, it went down. Okay. So the mortality rate of the flu, which is 1/10 of 1%, is how much the coronavirus mortality rate went down just in 2 days. Again, there is no comparison between the two. But what does this tell us? This tells us that the mortality rate is going down, and this is reflected in the media right now. This is why you see articles on the news websites and in the media where they're saying the number of deaths are going down. Less people are dying from it. And so this number reflects it. 1/10 of 1%. So much so that it's reflecting in the mortality rate, the percentage. Okay, one tenth of 1% though. So it's 4.39. All right. So I just want to make that clear. Now, so here's the thing. And that's adding to people saying, see, it's not that deadly. So this is what people are saying as well. They're saying that, okay, we were locked down, we had shelter in mandate, or guidelines, we had quarantine, stay at home guidelines, and all this other kind of stuff. The economy, everything is now slowly reopening. We're finally reopening. Bam, we get hit with viral videos of police brutality that's always happened, but now we get a chance to see it because a lot more people have cell phones and things like that. So we had recent incidents of police brutality and murder by way of police officers between George Floyd and so on and so forth. And so that sparked or ignited a whole 2 weeks, about 2 weeks strong of protesting, where people, and on top of that, that was around about the time of Memorial Day. So you had the holiday, you had the protesting and things. So a lot of people were not practicing social distancing or mask wearing. So a lot of people didn't wear a mask, and a lot of people didn't practice social distancing. Either they were celebrating the holidays or they were protesting, either or. And so because that took place for a while and the numbers are going down, that adds more fuel to the fire where people are saying, see, it's a hoax. COVID, if COVID was so deadly or so serious, then all those people protesting, we should see the death count go up. Is that not what you hear? Like, I don't even know if
Yep. Yep.
right. So that's what's going on. And that's what people are saying. Okay. And to an extent, okay, that's a reasonable way to think. Like, okay, the death rate should go up. But now, if we all were to educate ourselves on how viruses work and the response times in terms of the data and how the stats work, we would know that the deaths always lag infection count. Okay. The death rate will always lag the infection rate or the positivity rate, as they say. It will always lag behind. How much of a lag? It depends on the virus. It's infectious. How fast it works. So on and so forth. And for this particular virus, it's at least 14 days, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. So right now, the death it lags in both ways. So if the infection rate goes down, because notice the peak of the death rate in the United States was in April. All in April is when we had our highest numbers in terms of deaths. But now here we are, April. Now, the month of May, the numbers started going down. Now, June, down, or the curve, I should say, the curve started to level. Let me not say go down. The curve started to level in May. June, it started to level and started to go down. Now we're in the beginning of July. So the rates are going down now. So first it was going up, 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 up. It leveled off and now it's going down. So now we're at the beginning of that down. But now, so what do we learn from that? Is that the reason why the death rate spiked in April is a result of the infections and the positivity rate that took place in March and February. Okay. We didn't lock down until March, but people were being infected all in February. I think one of the first cases in the United States reported was on the West Coast. I think Seattle, Washington, if I'm not mistaken. But that's how it works. So we got February, March, people getting infected, people not knowing it was new. The World Health Organization just declared it a pandemic, and the whole thing that was in late February. And March we started to shelter in that second week or whatever of March. And so from there, the delay happened, the lag. Now all of a sudden, the peak in the deaths was all in April. So likewise, on the flip side, we're going to see a lowering of the death rate because people were responsible, and we did practice the shelter in, social distancing, face masks. But now that the economy opened back up and everybody's rushing to go back to quote unquote normal, we're seeing the numbers spike up again, but the death is still going down. So what is that going to tell us is that sooner or later, within a week, 2 weeks, we're going to see the death rate again start to go up. And we can only hope that it doesn't go up as much as it did in April, but we're going to see it curve up. It's already curving up now, especially in certain areas, but not nationwide like it was before. But in certain areas, it's curving up. All right. So that's why. So it's nothing dealing with the fact that we should immediately see people dropping like flies and stuff just because you went to a protest. You should wake up next day, need to be hospitalized and people should be dropping like flies. No, it doesn't work that way. All right. And so I hope people understand that. All right. So, and I don't want to lose sight of the chat. So Mo, if you had any comments or questions while I'm talking, feel free to interrupt me, because
I'm
like I
good.
said, I wish that people would chime in on the conversation, because I look for interactions. But go ahead.
I'm good so far because we covered this part.
Okay, all right.
Oh,
So I just want to make sure people understand, and because I'm telling you, I hear a lot of stuff, boy. It's crazy. It is really really crazy out there. It's disappointing too at the same time. It's dangerous, dangerously disappointing.
I'm glad you made the comment of that the debt toll lags the infection, or the yeah, those people who test positives, because that's like a misconception as well. And I think one of the other deals is that they get over it, but they could have some damages within.
Yeah. All right. So I see a comment in the chat. Barack Kahar Yasharala. All right. I hope I pronounced that right. They say the COVID-19 cases are very inflated. Unused test kits are being deemed positive. Doctors are being given big incentives to falsify cause of death as COVID-19. Now, see, that claim has been made for the longest time. I mean, you can YouTube that and see a lot of people making that claim. And I'm very familiar with it. And like I said, I got my finger on the pulse of a lot of healthcare professionals, people who are on the front line. And like I said, 2 days ago, my own sister is a doctor. Her husband's a doctor. They're on the front lines dealing with this. Um, as far as my sister, on a daily basis. All right. And a lot of things that people say, they just say it or they parrot it from somewhere else, and they've never really looked into it and or done proper investigations of it. And that's exactly why I'm doing what I'm doing now. So I'm gonna touch on that, because that's what I want to talk about, this so-called inflation of numbers. Because people say that, one, to downplay the seriousness of COVID-19, the virus and the disease, and then two, to try to imply that the CDC, or this mysterious they, um, are out to get us, fool us, trick us for the purpose of taking our freedoms, uh, describing it as fascism or tyranny, forcing us to wear masks and this and the other, which will eventually lead to the forcing or the mandate of getting vaccine. Like, you're not going to be able to do this if you don't have a vaccine. And then there's big money in vaccines. I mean, I hear it all. All of that stuff is linked together. It's all linked together. So let's just deal with the data at hand. All right. So let me see. Um, go back to over here. All right. So, all right, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna share my screen. I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna dispel something real quick first before we even need to go any further. Let me dispel something first. All right. First, it's about the CDC itself. Okay, so I'm gonna share my screen, and if you can't read everything on the screen, no worries, because I'm not gonna read it. This is the CDC website. Now, in my conversations with people, and like I said, I talk to a lot of people on a regular basis about this stuff. And the people that come with the conspiracy theories, the people that come parroting quacks and parroting conspiracy theorists and stuff like that, they I asked them when they start talking, I asked them just straight questions that they always can't answer, either don't answer, can't answer, or answer in the negative. So people have a lot to say about the numbers, but I asked them something simple. I say, have you read the CDC website? Have you read the official guidelines and official statements of the CDC on point, this point, or that point, or that point? And they can never say yes when they're arguing these things. And so if the circumstances allows me, I show them right there on the spot. And it always changes the whole conversation. They either filibuster, divert, or move the goalposts when you show them actual stats, or you show them the site, or you ask them to show you what is said on what's the official statements and things like that. So I'm gonna show you real quick about that. So this is the CDC website. This is the flu season data that I got. All right, I just took a screenshot of this. All right, so these are the estimates of it. Here are the cases in the United States. This is up to date. This is as of July 8th. Okay, this is still the CDC website. Okay, these are the total cases, total deaths. Now, and you can go to the CDC website. Matter of fact, I'm going to post a link directly to this particular page, because people will make the excuse of getting lost on the website. All right, so if you scroll down, now this is for the people who demonize the CDC and say that the CDC or the government, when they really talk about the CDC, is out to fool us by inflating the numbers, and they're hiding things. Okay, I'm going to show you how transparent the CDC is and has been, because everything is on their website. All right. Not only do they have the total cases and total deaths up here big up top, but if you go down, see how this have a hyperlink right here? It says about the data. If I click that, all it does is scrolls down the page for me. All right. It scrolls down. That's where I was. I click that. It takes me all the way down the page. All right. This is the data, about the data. You see how it expands? When I expand it, it tells you about the data. It tells you that it's updated daily. Let me see. Let me make this bigger so people can see this. Okay, about the data. It says updated daily. This page is updated daily based on data confirmed at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time the day before. Okay, so it's always a 1 day lagging. All right, but it's updated daily. They talk about the reported by jurisdictions, health departments, and then they talk about the number of jurisdictions. There's currently 56 in the United States. And now they define and tell you what they mean by confirmed and probable counts. And I read this before, so I'm gonna read it again. It says, as of April 14th, 2020, the CDC case counts and death counts include both confirmed and probable cases and deaths. Okay, so what does that mean? It means that they're telling you that the numbers that they tally and show you consist of confirmed cases and probable cases, confirmed deaths and probable deaths. They're not trying to hide it. They're telling you that that's what that number is made up of. Okay. It says this change was made to reflect the interim COVID-19 position statement issued by the Council for State and Territorial Epidemiologists on April 5th, 2020. The position statement included a case definition and made COVID-19 a nationally notifiable disease. And basically what that means is that when they make a disease a nationally notifiable disease, it gets listed along with other diseases that other organizations can utilize for their purposes. For example, insurance, life insurance, health insurance. If you have a condition or a disease that will impact your insurance policy, your premium, the cost of it, and all that other kind of stuff. But the disease has to be an officially notifiable disease, like cancer, like HIV, and things like that. So that's what they did for COVID-19 because it's new. So they had to put it in that category. That's what that is dealing with in a nutshell. Um, so let's go down. It says a confirmed case or death is defined by meeting confirmatory laboratory evidence for COVID-19. That's straightforward. A confirmed case means that it was determined by way of laboratory evidence. That means that they did an actual laboratory test to make that determination. I don't think too many people argue on that. Okay, the lab test produced a confirmed case. This is the problem that people have. The next one, a probable case or death is defined by one of the following. The first one is meeting clinical criteria and epidemiologic evidence with no confirmatory laboratory testing performed for COVID-19. So this is where people are saying, see, they're listing everybody as a COVID-19 patient or death, and they didn't run no tests. They didn't do no tests. That's what people are running from. That's what this is saying. Okay. But the fact that the CDC itself is telling you that that's what it is and that this is what it's called means that they're not hiding it. Okay. And there's a reason why they do this. And I'm going to get into that in a second. There's a reason why they do this. So that's number one. Number two, meeting presumptive laboratory evidence and either clinical criteria or epidemiologic evidence. So we got an and then an or in this one. And the third, meeting vital records criteria with no confirmatory laboratory testing performed for COVID-19. Okay, so these are the three things that fall under a probable case or death. Both of these numbers, the confirmed case or death and the probable case or death, is utilized or within the numbers that we see. They're not hiding it. Okay, they tell you what those numbers are made of. So that should end people saying that the CDC is trying to hide it or spin it or whatever the case is. No, they're telling you that this is what they're doing. All right, they're informing you. And then they tell you a reason. So I'm going to click on confirm case or death, right? If I click here, I already clicked it and it opened up right here. Okay. It goes into more detail about everything that I just read. Now, let me blow this up a bit so you can read it. Now, this is kind of lengthy. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but again, this is still on the CDC website. All right. I want everybody to go to the CDC website. If you can see the link up here, see it, but I'm gonna post all of these links in the description, I guess, when I'm done. All right. Um, but I'm gonna go down to the clinical criteria because now it's gonna get into more detail and define the three things that we just read. So it says the clinical criteria, and then it goes into the laboratory criteria, and then it goes to the epidemiologic linkage, and then it goes to criteria to distinguish new case from an existing case, and then case classification, the probable ones and the confirmed ones, and then other criteria. Okay, that's what this does. So again, all of this is still on the CDC website. They're telling you in detail how they're coming up with the numbers and the whole nine. So there's nothing hidden from anybody or attempt to fool people with these particular numbers. And they tell you the reason why they do it. All right. So let me find that. Well, just go down the list. So clinical criteria, at least two of the following symptoms, fever, measured or subjective, chills, rigors, myalgia. I'm probably butchering that word right there. Myalgia, headache, sore throat, new olfactory and taste disorders, or at least one of the following symptoms: cough, shortness of breath, or difficulty breathing, or severe respiratory illness with at least one of the following: clinical or radiographic evidence of pneumonia or acute respiratory distress syndrome. That's ARDS. Now pay attention to ARDS. ARDS is a big factor when it comes to COVID-19. Okay, so now all of that I read was clinical criteria, and I'm not even done. This is or. Now we get to and. So it could be any of these, but it has to be and this, no alternative, more likely diagnosis, which means that you have to eliminate the other possibilities. Okay, so you have to eliminate the other possibilities, and these two of these things have to be present. This is in a clinical situation. Okay, this is when people are being examined and it's clinical. All right, so that's that one. Next one, laboratory criteria. Laboratory evidence using a method approved or authorized by the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, FDA, or designated authority. Confirmatory laboratory evidence. Detection of severe acute respiratory syndrome, coronavirus 2, which is SARS-CoV-2. It's RNA, ribonucleic acid. Okay, so they're seeing the presence of the actual RNA of the virus itself in a clinical specimen using a molecular amplified detection test. Okay, that's one laboratory evidence. Presumptive laboratory evidence, detection of specific antigen in a clinical specimen, or detection of specific antibody in the serum, plasma, or whole blood indicative of a new or recent infection. And so basically, these two things, confirmatory and presumptive, are the two types of tests that you hear about. One is the nasal pharyngeal one, which goes in your nose. That's the cotton swab that they stick down in your nose. And then the other one is the serological test where they draw your blood. The serological one where they're drawing your blood, they're checking for antibodies. And what that lets you know is that whether or not you were ever exposed to the virus. That doesn't determine active infection. Okay, that's this one, the second one. The first one, which is the swab in your nose, is an active infection. They want to see they are able to detect the actual presence of the virus's RNA itself. Okay, so that's the two different tests. So that's the laboratory criteria. So they define it. This is a CDC website, and they're defining what the laboratory criteria are. All right. Then we have epidemiologic linkage. All right. So, and they define that one or more of the following exposures in the 14 days before onset of symptoms: close contact with a confirmed or probable case of COVID-19 disease, or close contact with a person with clinically compatible illness and linkage to a confirmed case of COVID-19. This is where you get into contact tracing. Okay, this is where it's epidemiologic. Okay, so they can trace contact. Basically, what they're saying is that you have been exposed to someone who has been confirmed to have had to have the virus or exhibit COVID-19, the disease. And so this is where contact tracing. So if somebody tests positive and they have it, then they start asking questions. Well, where did you go? Because they want to trace out how the possibilities of how you got it and how you may or may not have transmitted to others. All right. So that's,
can I ask a question right there?
Yeah, go ahead.
How if when a person tests positive, how long could they have had it? Or is there a possibility to tell how long they could have had it or is it within days?
Well, it depends on which test. So again, the
COVID-19.
No, I'm saying it depends on which of the two tests. So you have two major types of tests. the serological test where they draw your blood and they're looking for antibodies. And so that particular test is not going to tell you if you have an active infection. It's just going to tell you that you were exposed to it at one point. So you could have been exposed to it a whole month prior to getting tested, a month and a half or whatever the case is. Your body produces these antibodies.
Mm.
Okay. The other test, which is the one, let me scroll back up. This one is by way of a molecular amplification detection test. So you get the PCR test that people talk about.
That's the
And
one with the nose.
yeah, it's the one they stick the thing way back in your nose,
Yeah.
up your nose. That one is an active infection. So if that one comes back positive, or they're able to see the RNA from that particular test, then you're actively infected.
Hmm.
You have it right there, then and there.
Wow. Oh,
Okay.
like it right now. Like you could
Yeah.
just okay.
Like right now, like if that one comes back positive, that means that on the day that they did that swab, you are definitely infected and active. The antibody one means that you could have been infected, showed no symptoms or little symptoms, recovered. If you did have symptoms, recovered from it in the whole nine, and then still show up positive because it's looking for antibodies that fought it.
Oh, I get it. Okay. All right.
Yeah. So that lets you know that you had it. And or you could still be actively, an active infectious, and that's the uncertainty with the serologic or the antibody tests that they're having issues with. I mean, there is it's not 100%. That one is known to have about an 80% accuracy rate. So it's 20% that's not too good. And so these are things that everybody has to consider. But again, the CDC and the people who are doing these tests, they're transparent. They're letting people know these things, and it's out here. Like I'm pulling the site up. I didn't create this site. This is not my website. you know. But all right, let me go down some more. Then it goes into criteria to distinguish new case from existing case, and that's not applicable for these situations. Case classifications, probable, and it gets into the three things that I read before. It meets the clinical criteria, which is above, and the epidemiologic evidence if you don't have a confirmatory laboratory test that says so. Two, meets presumptive laboratory evidence, which is the serological one. Okay. Let me scroll up to make sure everybody understands. When it says confirmatory laboratory evidence, that is the nasal pharyngeal, where they stick the cotton swab down up your nose, and they take a sample for an active determination. The presumptive laboratory one is serological, where they're drawing your blood. Okay, so when I go back down here, that's what this all means. You got to follow the breadcrumbs. The second point in under probable, it says meets presumptive laboratory evidence, which means the serological one, and either clinical criteria, which it was above, or the epidemiological, logic evidence. Okay, so it has to be the serological has to be positive, and then either or of these have to be added on. Okay. Third, it meets the vital records criteria with no confirmatory laboratory testing performed for COVID-19. Now, when it says meets vital records criteria, that goes into a different organization and their guidelines, which is the National Vital Statistics. And I have that pulled up. I'm going to show that in a second. Matter of fact, it's right here. The NVSS, National Vital Statistics System. And they talk about the death certificate. I'm gonna get to that. So I just want to show you all what I mean when I say that the national vital statistics. Okay, but that is what where we at? Right here. That's what this third point means. So let's review real quick. Under probable, probable means that it meets the clinical criteria and the epidemiologic evidence when you do not have a confirmatory laboratory test. Okay, it has to meet both of those. Two, it meets the presumptive laboratory evidence and either the clinical or the epidemiologic evidence. Or three, it meets the vital records criteria when you don't have a confirmatory laboratory test. All right. That's the probable. Under confirm, real short and simple, it meets the confirmatory laboratory evidence. That's straight. That's a straight shot, which is up here, the confirmatory one, which means that they actually see the RNA of the virus in your system. You can't get around that. If they see that, it's there. If you didn't have the virus, it would not be there. It's just that simple. It's like saying, somebody being half pregnant. Can't do that. All right. Then it goes to other criteria, the vital records criteria, which I showed, the death certificate that lists COVID-19 disease or SARS-CoV-2 as the cause of death or a significant condition contributing to death. Okay. So my point again is to show how informative the CDC is on their very own website. So this should put down those people who are pretending for whatever their agenda is, silly agendas, are to say that we're being lied to, things are being held from us, things are being hidden, there's some kind of agenda going on, there's a conspiracy going on and all this and that, when all they have to do is read. Okay, so that's what I'm pointing out. All right, so let's move from there and go over to, and I'm gonna skip that and come here. So again, this is the CDC website, and this is the section of the website that talks about COVID-19 death data and resources. Okay. The organization that keeps all the stats for death is the NCHS. And I believe the acronym stands for, it's going to pop up, the National Center for Health Statistics or something of that nature. I forget what the NCHS stand for. But this is the information that is given. So it says the NCHS is responding to the coronavirus disease 2019 with new resources to help monitor and report deaths from COVID-19. Below, please find our latest provisional death counts, guidance for filling out death certificates for deaths due to COVID-19, and other important alerts and information. So look right here, biggest day, understanding the numbers. You click that, it'll take you that information. Another one, understanding the death certificate data. You click that, it's going to pop that information up. All right, I'm not going to click it just yet. But I'm going to show you that it's going to take me down the page. I click it, it just took me down the page. It just scrolled me down to the page. All right, so I'm still on the same page. It says understanding the numbers, provisional death counts, and COVID-19. It tells you, it says provisional death counts deliver the most complete and accurate picture of lives lost to COVID-19. They are based on death certificates, which are the most reliable source of data and contain information not available anywhere else, including comorbid conditions, race and ethnicity, and place of death. Okay, because when you get a laboratory test and you test positive, they're not collecting all of the data. On death certificates, more information is filled out on the death certificates, your age, your ethnicity, if you so choose to put that in there, or your race and all this other kind of stuff, and the time of death, the place of death, all that other kind of stuff is put onto these records, these death certificates. Okay, so they're able to utilize that information to draw up stats and comparisons and things like that. So it says, how does it work? It says this is what it stands for. The National Center for Health Statistics, so I was right, uses information no, excuse me, incoming data from death certificates to produce provisional COVID-19 death counts. These include deaths occurring within the 50 states and the District of Columbia. NCHS also provides summaries that examine deaths in specific categories and in greater geographic detail, such as deaths by county, by race, and Hispanic origin. COVID-19 deaths are identified using a new ICD-10 code. When COVID-19 is reported as a cause of death, or when it is listed as probable or presumed cause, the death is coded as U071. This can include cases with or without laboratory confirmation, as we just read. Okay. Now, I want you to notice that on the certificates they're putting probable and presumed. Okay. Why these numbers are different? Provisional death counts may not match counts from other sources, such as media reports or numbers from county health departments. Counts by the NCHS often track 1 to 2 weeks behind other data. Point one, here's the reason why. Death certificates take time to be completed. There are many steps to filling out and submitting a death certificate. Waiting for test results can create additional delays. Two, state reports at different rates. Currently, 63% of all United States deaths are reported within 10 days of the date of death, but there is significant variation between states. It takes extra time to code COVID-19 deaths. While 80% of deaths are electronically processed and coded by NCHS within minutes, most deaths from COVID-19 must be coded by a person, which takes an average of 7 days. Other reporting systems use different definitions or methods for counting deaths. So all these points are reasons why the counts given by NCHS track 1 to 2 weeks behind other data that you may hear in the media or elsewhere. All right, plain and simple. And they're answering the question why the numbers are different. Okay, so this should be clear. Okay, here we go. Things to know. And this is the last thing. I'm not going to bore y'all with all these details. Things to know about the data. Provisional counts are not final and are subject to change. Counts from previous weeks are continually revised as more records are received and processed. Provisional data are not yet complete. Counts will not include all deaths that occurred during a given time period, especially for more recent periods. However, we can estimate how complete our numbers are by looking at the average number of deaths reported in previous years. Death counts should not be compared across states. Some states report deaths on a daily basis, while other states report deaths weekly or monthly. State vital record reporting may also be affected or delayed by COVID-19 related response activities. All right, so that's all about what? Understanding the numbers. Okay, let's go down to understanding the death data quality, cause of death from death certificates. All right, so let's read this real quick. Death certificates are a powerful tool for understanding how and why people die. Cause of death information is valuable to families and to public health, and getting it right matters. How death certificates work. When a person dies, the cause of death is determined by the certifier, the physician, the medical examiner, or the coroner who reports it on the death certificate. States register all death certificates and send them to the National Center for Health Statistics, the NCHS, where they're used to produce the nation's official death statistics. All right, so if you want any statistics on death, these are the folks you got to talk to. Certifiers are asked to use their best medical judgment based on the available information and their expertise. When a definitive diagnosis cannot be made, but the circumstances are compelling within a reasonable degree of certainty, certifiers may include the terms probable or presumed in the cause of death statement. Cause of death and COVID-19. When COVID-19 is reported as a cause of death on the death certificate, it is coded and counted as a death due to COVID-19. COVID-19 should not be reported on the death certificate if it did not cause or contribute to the death. So this is on the official website of the CDC. People are saying that the CDC is telling doctors that or forcing, let me use the word they use. They're claiming that the CDC is forcing doctors and these coroners and medical examiners to list people as COVID-19 deaths. And they got a running joke. They'll say, hey, people go in there for a sprained ankle, and they're listed as a COVID-19 patient. Or people go in there and die of a gunshot wound and they're listed as a COVID-19 death or whatever. That's what you hear. Okay. But now you're reading it yourself along with me from the CDC website, where they're not telling anybody any of that. Okay. I just want to make that clear. They're telling you that it should not be reported on the certificate. It shouldn't be if it did not cause or contribute to the death. And we're going to get into the contribution in a second. What else? Because I don't want to beat this down too much. I think that's enough. The next section is things to know about cause of death data quality. And basically, okay, let me just read a bit. It says getting high quality cause of death information can be challenging. So they acknowledge it to be challenging, especially during emergencies. Certifiers may be faced with heavy workloads, may not have access to complete information about the death, or may not be well trained in how to prepare quality case of death statements. The quality of case of death data depends on death certificates being complete and accurate. Then they define what they mean by complete and accurate. Complete means describing a clear chain of events. This is important. A clear chain of events from the immediate cause of death to the underlying cause of death. That's very, very, very important. All right. Reporting any other conditions that contribute to the death and providing information that is specific. There's certain points on the death certificate where this stuff goes. Okay. I'm going to tell y'all that right now. Accurate means that reporting is correct. Reporting the correct conditions as causes of death. Okay. So they mean complete and accurate. And then it goes on. All right. It says 20 to 30% of death certificates have issues with completeness. And this goes with this first one. This does not mean that they are inaccurate. However, higher quality information can provide an even better picture of what's happening. All right. So enough of that. All right. So let me take a pause for a second, because I don't want to lose track of the of what you all are saying in the chat. And that's if anybody's even still watching. But I appreciate anybody's tuned in. I mean, I know you here, Mo.
Yeah, I wanted to ask a question too. Do the CDC say, or do you know of anything in reference to the blood type, and how if certain blood types have a higher or lower percentage of contracting COVID-19?
Yeah, but that's not the CDC though. That is scientists. Scientists are writing papers that are being published when it comes to what you've mentioned in terms of the blood type. I remember seeing one about blood type A. This was like back in March, later part of March, we started seeing papers about that. Um, Even papers about the comorbid conditions such as obesity, such as diabetes type 2, such as hypertension, high blood pressure, people who suffer from that. There are a lot of papers that discuss those things in detail, but that's not the CDC doing that. Just to answer you. So
those are independent studies.
Yeah, those are studies either by
Medical
people in the scientists that deal with that, either virologists, biologists,
the reason I asked
Mhm.
is one of my friends, her boyfriend tested positive for COVID-19 and had some pretty harsh symptoms, and they were around him for quite a while before I guess they even noticed that he was possibly those symptoms could be contributed to it. And so when they called their doctor to test her and her daughter is only about, I think, 3 or 4. They tested negative, and so when they asked why, he said he told them that I think they were O negative blood type, and that the O negative blood type had about a 20% chance less of contracted it or something. And so she was wanting to know more about that. She told me to ask that question.
Okay, yeah, but that is what some of the data, the studies have shown, that there is a difference in the blood type in terms of the susceptibility of infection. And so that gets a lot into details though. And so what I can say about that is the way that the virus attaches or attacks the body is basically the protein spikes on the virus latches on to these receptors on our cells. And the specific receptor is the ACE2 receptor. And so it's almost like a Lego block. And so if you take one block and it snaps on to the other block. And so in our lungs, in our nasal passages or our respiratory pathway, we have a lot of these ACE2 receptors. They're located in other places in our body, but they're prolific. You know, there is a whole lot of them in our lungs, in our trachea, our nose, and stuff like that. That's why it's a respiratory. It attacks that area because that's where it latches on. So once the virus latches onto the cell, it locks on to that ACE2 receptor and it grips. And once it grips, the RNA of the virus then penetrates and invades the cell to replicate itself. And I'm being general, basic. And so basically the virus clones itself and replicates once it infects the cell. And then it replicates so much that it destroys the cell, and the cell breaks down to where the virus becomes free to infect more and more and more cells. And over time it just spread. That's how it is. But the point of me bringing this up is that what these studies have shown is that certain blood types with the antigens on the blood, some of them are more susceptible to this process. And so they're saying the blood type A um, is more susceptible than blood type O, as an example. So that's why. So the doctor or whoever was saying that is probably going off of these studies. They're aware of these studies. So that's the difference. So you have that going on, and then you have the fact that people who are obese, have diabetes and stuff like that, they're hit harder because of these ACE2 receptors interaction and what they do for the human body in relation to those conditions. The contraction restriction of the blood flow and stuff like that. So people who are on blood medication, high blood pressure and stuff like that, they have to be very, very, very careful because these ACE2 uh, receptors and inhibitors and stuff like that, they get thrown way out of whack, and that's why they have problems, severe problems. They're hit the hardest. They're the most vulnerable, and that's why people should be mindful of that, because you can be healthy, you can get the virus, and may have no symptoms or just very minor symptoms, but while you're infectious, you could pass it on to somebody who is vulnerable, and they may not make it, and that would be terrible for somebody, because in essence the virus kills them, but you facilitated the transmission of the virus that killed them. And that's not something that anybody wants to be, no position anybody wants to be in, especially a loved one. You go visit your grandparents and you pass on the virus, you end up being okay, and they get hit hard. So that's why it's very, very important. So people got to really look at it at the bigger picture. Okay, but let me just look at the chat, because I don't want to lose anybody. I'm trying. I want people to join in and see you. You're the only one that's come in on both times. I know Lisa came. Unbiased. Okay, but let me just go through this. Okay, so Rick Manigault said that COVID is a eugenics fraud to cover population control. Wow. I've heard that before, but that's just amazing that people actually think that it's a eugenics fraud to cover population control. That's crazy. That's real crazy. When the virus is actually killing people. Like why don't people say that the virus itself um is killing people? Because see, I hear that in terms of the vaccine though. Like a lot of people bring that up when they talk about the vaccine. The vaccine, because they connected when you hear about the vaccine talk, 9 times out of 10, Bill Gates' name is gonna come up. All right, I hear it all the time.
Oh yeah, 1,000 times out of 10.
Yeah, 1,000 times out of 10. When you hear the word vaccine, you're gonna hear the word Bill. You're gonna hear Bill and Melinda Gates. You're gonna hear their name. you
And
know,
how could the virus? Wait, it doesn't it doesn't make sense in terms of nature. Like, how could a virus be population control? Because if they could control the virus, don't you think that they, especially being that it's a political election year, and they need these brownie points, that they would actually put some kind of mitigate it a little bit so that they can get over the hump? I mean, I don't.
yeah. I mean, see, you have. I mean, there's a large mentality pocket of people thinking that um the government is out to kill us. But yeah, and I raise this point because I'm not one to be naive and say the government has always had our best interests. I mean, listen, in the United States, African Americans, our existence in this country from our direct lineage is a result of some heinous things that we summarily call slavery. All right, but it's a lot of detail in that. And so we know that, in terms of looking out for our best interests is not something that we're gonna just automatically do. Like, oh yeah, just believe everything, just accept everything. It's all good. They're lovely. It's lovely. Nah, it's not that type of party. But what trips me out though is that people will be a grown adult, live in this country for 20 years, 30 years as an adult, functioning adult, complain and be fearful and say that the government's out to kill him, but yet still stay here, live here, and function. Instead of, if you really thought somebody was going to kill you, one or two things going to happen. If you really thought somebody was going to kill you, you would either take them out first, or you would remove yourself from the situation so that you can't be touched or messed with. One of the two. So there's no way somebody's gonna convince me that people who feel that way, that they really feel that way, because and stay here for 30 years and just sit on the side and complain all the time. So that's a whole nother thing. I don't think people are ready for that conversation though. But let me just go down. So Christine Williams says these death rates are rising with people who have compromised immune systems. That's true. The deaths, the COVID-19 deaths have been significantly um be significant among the people who have compromised immune systems. Yes, that's there's no doubt about that. But now, when we say compromised immune systems, it also includes people who have these other pre-existing conditions. Though you have obesity. Obesity is a big thing. A lot of people are obesity, or will fall in the category of obesity. A lot of people have high blood pressure, hypertension, and stuff like that. That's where these high numbers are coming from as well. And African Americans, at one point in the news, remember this. Remember, in the beginning of this pandemic, the um the silly noise was that black people can't get it. Remember that? Did you hear that, Mo? At one point,
Yes, out the gate, and they.
right? So
So
at
now, don't you seem like the tables have reversed though?
exactly. That's what I was saying. So at first everybody was saying, "Oh, black people can't get it. Look at Africa. No, no known cases in Africa and stuff like that. It's, it's only in China and then in European countries and this and that. Black people can't get it. Our melanin protection is hoorah, hoorah, hoorah. Then then that noise stopped for about a week. Then all of a sudden the reverse was being said. It's like, oh, the virus was made to attack African Americans because African Americans are the most affected and the most impacted and da da da. It was like the total opposite of what people were saying. And that's crazy. And I know people who was on both sides. They were saying the other one at first and then they flipped it. And I'm like, man, are you like, do you just go whichever way the wind blows or what? Like, do you think
Yeah,
critically?
but make you feel good. And they also like even the other ethnicity, like this past 4th of July weekend, you see these little beaches in these different various areas of all these people, not predominantly us, and you're like, hey, what y'all think y'all exempt?
Right.
You
Right.
about to get sick.
Exactly. So that's the thing about that. But so in the African among African Americans, among our demographic, we have statistically we know that we have certain conditions that are known to be in the African American community, such as blood issues, high blood pressure, diabetes is a big thing, all those kinds of things, and
Right.
that makes it those people with those conditions very vulnerable. And so statistically, our demographic is vulnerable, hands down. And so that's where you get the flip side of the conspiracy is that, okay, the virus is made to attack black people.
Like
They totally flipped it around.
right.
You know, and not only that, not only the conditions themselves, but then our lack to access of good health care. You know, we don't have access to um, adequate health care, as a demographic of people, African Americans. So that factors in as well.
Yeah, because it initially they said that you everyone would get a COVID test and it would be free, but that's not actually true. It actually you had you could get it if you go to those stops or whatnot, but when you go to the doctor or to the hospital and they see you don't have no insurance, it's just like prior to COVID. You're gonna get a patched up situation and send you on your way. Some
Yep.
people and then now they back to the point in those hot states where they're having to make decisions based on those respirators again, those ventilators. I'm sorry again.
Hmm. Yeah, and then the ventilator issue, that's a big issue too because ventilators, the use of ventilators and the abundance that we've seen with this pandemic is not something that's normal. And so a lot of people who were put on ventilation may not have necessarily needed to, and this and that. So there's a lot of issues. There's a lot of issues with that because the ventilator is like a last resort because there's a percentage of people that once you get on a ventilator, whether or not you come off and recover, and that percentage is not a good number. And so
Oh,
anybody getting put on ventilators, that's a very serious thing, you know,
now
like the last
in,
last resort.
in reference to where it's affecting you in the body, I heard one young man say that one of the things he noticed was in reference to his breathing when he was having a hard time breathing instead of sleeping on his back. They when they turned him over to sleep on his stomach, he he had a better time with going through that whole process. Like when he was on his back, it was harder to breathe, and I guess because he's pressing, the lungs, the sensitivity of the lungs at that time.
Well, I don't think that that's the case because whether
Okay.
you have COVID or not, sleeping on your
Okay.
back is sleeping on your. If you compare sleeping on your back versus sleeping on your side or otherwise,
Right.
sleeping on your back is the most difficult. That goes for anybody.
Okay.
It's the way that you position your neck, your head, and all that kind of stuff. Sleeping on your back, it's the actual air passageway. That's how come people who snore, if you know anybody who has like a serious issue with snoring, the
Yeah.
first thing they're gonna tell you is that you don't sleep on your back. They're gonna give you this thing you stick in your nose or this thing you stick in your mouth, so it'll keep your chin. Like if your chin goes in towards your neck while you sleep, you're gonna snore. And
Oh yeah, that's
ha-
harder.
they have this thing that you stick in your mouth that keeps your chin forward, it moves your chin forward, and it allows that
Airway.
but I forgot that part of your airway that is
Trachea.
called. No, not the trachea. It's a like a
Oh,
specific
okay.
part in the back of your throat, top of your neck, back of your throat area, and that prevents that from collapsing, and so you won't hear that, you won't get that snoring and stuff. And so sleeping on the back is just it has those kind of problems even without COVID-19 coming in the picture. So imagine somebody who has difficulty breathing, then yeah, of course. So I'm saying, it's going to be the first thing you don't want to do, sleep on your back. Nah, you don't want to sleep on your back. All right. So let me keep on going down real quick. So we got okay, so Christine Williams is it not true that if anyone who has been vaccinated in the past 10 years, would it not show a positive, false positive in the testing? No, that's not true. So remember, let me just say this again. Remember, there are two major types of tests for COVID-19. It's the serological one, which is when they draw your blood, and that's the test that's going to test your blood for antibodies. And what antibodies is are these cells or parts of your immune system that responds to pathogens that come into your body. And so when a foreign object comes into your body's going to produce these warriors that's going to fight it off and prevent it from doing damage. And these are antibodies. And they respond to antigens of the virus and so on and so forth. Okay. So when they take your blood, they're looking for those antibodies. And if they're present, then they know that your body produced them to fight off SARS-CoV-2 specifically. So, but here's the problem with those antibody tests. Um, they're Some of them are not sensitive enough, and they're not detailed enough to pick up the right antibody, because SARS-CoV-2 can cause your body to produce a number of antibodies that will fight against it, but there's one in particular that is the one that we want. That's the money one, and that's the neutralizing antibody. That's the antibody. Man, let me see if I can show a picture real quick. Um, so let me go back to this picture. Okay. Oh, y'all can't see it. Let me see. I'm sorry. I'm gonna switch back over here. Okay, so if you all can see this image, I'm just going to use this image to describe what I'm talking about. So this is a picture of the virus. All right. And so these spikes latch on to our cells, ACE2 receptors. So it's almost like a plug, like a male and female plug. Let's just use that as an analogy. And so when our bodies produce these neutralizing antibodies, what they do is that they prevent this spike from plugging into the ACE2 receptor. Okay. So the virus can never latch on to our cell to infect it, to start to replicate and things like that. That's the antibody that we want. That's the antibody that counts. Okay. And so these serological tests are not 100% sensitive enough to pick all that stuff up. Okay. And like I said, I'm just, if you want to find out more information, hopefully some of the things I've said will put you on the right track so you can get the details of what I'm saying. But there's two kinds of tests. So that's one. The other kind of test is the one where they're doing the swab. And that test is the goal of that test is to try to find the actual viral particles, the RNA of the virus itself. Okay. So that's what they're looking for. So now back to your question. When you said, is it not true if anyone who has been vaccinated in the past 10 years, would it not show a positive, false, or positive in the testing? On the molecular test, which is the one where they swab you and they're looking for the RNA test, the answer is no, because they're looking for specific DNA or RNA in this case of the virus. That's what they're looking for. So you could have been vaccinated for all kinds of stuff. It doesn't matter. You could have had, chickenpox vaccination, polio, all those vaccinations. You're not going to have the RNA of SARS-CoV-2, which is new, in those vaccines or any of that. You're not going to have that DNA in your body or RNA in your body. Okay? So that can't happen. So the answer is no for that. Now, in terms of antibodies, here's the problem. Like I said, it's not sensitive enough to differentiate to a certain percentage. So let me be clear. There is a room for error because it's not sensitive enough to differentiate these antibodies. So the challenge is with that test is that it's picking up antibodies for the family of coronaviruses and not the specificity of the SARS-CoV-2. Okay, so on that part, um, you may have something to you may have an argument about. All right, so I just want you to understand that. Hopefully I answered your question. Person one, peace. Glad you're back, brother. Although our people are understandably skeptical, given the historical, scientific, and medical exploitation of our community, we must analyze events on a case-by-case basis. That's absolutely correct. Person one, compromise, my queen. Much respect. Gratitude for the correction. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I'm maybe reading too fast, y'all. Let me go back. I don't want to skip anybody. Person one, brother, I no longer have patience to dive into the minutiae. You and Sister Christine Williams do. Okay, thank you. Okay. I'm sorry. Let me read the comments. I'm just reading fast, trying to catch up. Christine Williams says, and of course our government wouldn't lie to us. Yeah, see, I don't want anybody on this chat to ever believe that the brother Hujau, me, that me myself, or that I ever encourage anybody to be gullible or believe anything. Not even me. I am a advocate of critical thinking, rigorous research, scientific research, and investigation. Okay. I'm a student of logic. I have a background of science and math and the whole nine. So I'm not about that life of people just being gullible for one way or the other. Conspiracy theorists and quacks, or just because somebody has a bunch of letters after their name, that's appeal to authority and things like that. So, we have to do our due diligence. All right. So I just want to make that clear. So Christine says, so CDC wouldn't lie. Sorry, I don't trust them. Okay. Here's the thing about that. Here's a question. The CDC, whether the CDC lies or not, you have to have a reason. Because I hear it all the time. I hear people get even specific about people. They say, "Oh, Dr. Fauci can't be trusted. He's a fraud. Dr. Birx she's a fraud. She can't be trusted." Who else? As far as names, they bring out like specific names. Then they start bringing up organizations, NIH, the CDC, the WHO. They'll just bring up all these kinds of things and say, up categorically, don't trust them. I don't care what they say, this, that, and the third. But whenever you slow people down and ask them to produce information that leads them to those feelings, they always fall short, or they always come up with something that is not true. I do this all the time. I've done this all the time, especially with Dr. Fauci. People will say he says something and stuff, and then you ask them to show you, they can't. And then when you show them what he says, you show them video clips of what he says in the context and everything like that, they have nothing to say. So anyway, back to the CDC. Um, the administrative arm responsible for these statistics and numbers, whoever they are, the CDC for some, it's the NCHS that I said before, vital statistics for others and stuff like that. If you are not the one that runs and controls and the one that's collecting this data, then you have to defer to these numbers if you're going to talk about it. Otherwise, what are you going to use? And how you're going to inform yourself to make informative decisions. So to some degree, you're going to have to utilize these numbers. Now, you don't have to trust them, hook, line, and sinker and stuff like that, but you should at least have a very good, valid reason, applicable reason, specific, not to do whatever it is. And that's all good. That's all good. So maybe you can share with me why you don't trust the CDC specifically. Not the general vague, okay, because they're not us and the CDC, whatever. Matter of fact, the CDC is here. I'm in Georgia, by the way. The headquarters of the CDC is right here in Georgia. But what's interesting to me, just a side note, what's interesting to me though, is I've talked to people who will use the CDC and the data for certain things. But then when it comes to COVID-19 and everything like that, they want to throw CDC under the bus. So when it comes to let's just say women with here's an example that I deal with and I know about. Women with fibroids. They'll use the CDC data when they talk about that. 80% of African American women will have fibroids due to estrogen dominance and stuff like that. The CDC, according to the CDC, people will talk about that. PCOS, endometriosis, fibroids, and all that other kind of stuff. Women reproductive issues. They'll talk about that and use the CDC for that. But then when it comes to this COVID-19, man, the CDC can't be trusted. They can't be trusted. That's inconsistent logic, and that's another problem. That's an issue. That's a different issue. But let me keep on going down. I'm doing a lot of talking. But Mo, remember, or anybody that comes in here, because I can't see who's in here.
Okay.
It's just me and you. But yeah, if you have anything to say, feel free to interrupt me. I'm just gonna keep reading these comments to try to catch up.
Yeah. The only other thing I was gonna ask was about I think it was oh man, I forgot it again. I should have asked when you said
Yeah. You gotta jump in there. You gotta interrupt me because I would definitely you know me, I'm be MC Iron Lung.
Oh, I know what it was. It was in reference. I think it was in reference to these. I'll think about. Let me think about it because I know what I want to say. I just have to think about where I was gonna say it.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Whenever. Yeah. Just interrupt me because I'm just trying to go through these comments. I'm posting a link, y'all. If y'all want to come in and have your voice heard, I'm not gonna be here too much longer. Okay. So Robert Rand says, did anyone hear about the 2 new cases of the Black Plague in China? Yeah, I've heard about that. I saw the reports on that, and that's really interesting right there. That's gonna be, man. I don't. We're not. We're nowhere near ready to handle an outbreak of that. Okay. So that's not good news at all. Christine Williams, have you ever listened to Dr. Rashid Buttar? Yes, I have. And Dr. Rashid Buttar, I've seen a lot of his videos. A lot of people pass me his videos. His videos are talked about. His videos go viral and stuff like that. And there's a lot of information that he is just simply wrong about. Period. I mean, and I don't even want to. I'll just leave it there. Uh, anybody could just pull him up and look at the articles and sites that debunk some of the claims that he makes and things. Not only Dr. Rashid Buttar, but also Dr. Shiva, also Dr. Mikovits, the one who is dealing with the documentary Plandemic and things like that. I mean, a lot of things that they're claiming have been thoroughly refuted or debunked by people, um, professional and otherwise. So I just encourage people that if you hear, or if you're a person that watches Dr. Rashid or these other people, make sure you investigate the other side of the argument. You got to be able to hear what they say, but then see what people say about what they say. Not just anybody, but see what experts and other scientists and other people are saying about what they're saying. And then you discern. All right. Just do that. That's the only thing I can say to do. All right. But I've personally heard a lot of things that Dr. Rashid said that's just outright crazy and wrong. Okay. And maybe another video I could do that. I mean, it's old. Like I don't even deal with that anymore. It's a lot of things. All right, so Christine Williams. So the mask protects you. Uh, so my last video 2 nights ago, I talked more about most of the video was about the mask, and so I'm gonna say this in a short way. There's three types of masks that people are wearing. The fashionable cloth masks that people are making at home out of t-shirts and out of other kinds of things. You have the surgical mask, and then you have the N95 respirator. Um, the the misconception about the mask is, or one of the reasons why people are saying that the masks are pointless and there's no need to wear it because it's pointless, is because they are under the assumption or belief that because the virulent particle is smaller than the filter of the mask itself, that renders the mask totally pointless, non-effective, and that's just not true. I encourage people to look at the engineering and the physics behind these masks and find out why they were made and what they were made to do. And in that, you'll find out that these people really just don't have a clue of what they're talking about, and they're just making a bunch of noise. And so I went over that last, 2 nights ago. I'm not going to repeat all of that I said, but the short and skinny answer is that these masks, they help. They're not 100%. Nobody claims it. Just like condoms are not 100%. But people wear them. But these masks help to reduce the spread of the virus. And how they do it is different. The N95 does it one way, the surgical mask does it a different way, and then the cloth mask that people wear is even different. Okay. So the surgical mask helps protect the non-wearer. The N95 helps protect the wearer of the respirator, N95 respirator. All right. It's just that simple. I mean, that's it in a nutshell. It's not 100%, but it helps reduce the spread. All right. But you should wear the mask at appropriate times. So here's another thing that I see people doing. I see people driving in their own cars alone by themselves with masks on. That's equal to be just being in your own house, living alone and wearing a mask in your house, basically. And so there's really no need to wear a mask in certain situations. Masks should be worn in the appropriate situation when you are around other people, in close proximity to other people, especially crowded places or places where, it's a little bit of dense amount of people, and you can't practice social distance. You can't be distant from those people. You should wear a mask. It will help reduce the transmission of the virus. It's just that simple. It's not 100%. It's not the end all be all, but it will help. Same way condoms is not 100%, not the end all be all, but people wear them because it helps reduce the transmission of sexually transmitted diseases or STIs or STDs. Okay. Same difference. Nobody's complaining about condoms. I mean, in a general sense. All right. So let's keep going down. Where we go? Have you listened to Weekend, the immune system? Robert Ryan. So Dr. Fauci isn't. Now I've dealt with Dr. Fauci and all the claims, man, so many times and everything. So if people want to do that, bring up something specific. Bring up something specific. But I've been through that. I've seen clips. I've played clips. I've transcribed things that was said, and a lot of people just don't know what he say. A lot of people don't follow close enough to really know what these people are saying. They really don't know what people are saying. Let's see. Keep on going down. Oh, weakens the immune system. Okay, I don't know what you're saying. Weakens the immune. This is for Christine. So hopefully you can clarify that. Okay, Christine, you also say it's not a virus, it's a bacteria. Okay, please clarify that. Are you saying that SARS-CoV-2 is not a virus, it's a bacteria? Clarify that, please. As I scroll down, hopefully you'll be able to clarify that. Robert Rand, yep, they or whichever way the wind blows. Okay, just me. How do I call in? I'm late, so I may miss some things. Okay, just me. I've been posting the link. You got to just click the link. Just click the link. Even if you're on your cell phone, you click the link. It's gonna. I'm in Zoom, so it's gonna bring you into the Zoom mobile app. All right. Christine Williams says, and you think they don't know the position they have put African Americans in from slavery beyond. Okay. Killer cells. Okay. Just me says, what about reinfection? I keep hearing about and the different strains. Again, I was late, so I may have missed it. Sorry if I did. Okay. Now here's the thing about reinfection. The SARS-CoV-2, the virus is new. That's why they call it novel in the first place. It's new. And so not enough time has gone by for them to know the long-term effect of an infection. So, and they don't know the duration or the efficacy of antibodies once your body does produce them. So recently, as of the other day, Dr. Fauci, since people brought his name up, he informed the public to let them know that they do not, when he said he was talking, he said, we do not know the duration of immunity and how to define immunity when it comes to SARS-CoV-2, because they don't know if the antibodies will last. And because usually in the body we have these immune cells, B cells and T cells, and some of them are memory cells that will remember the pathogen. And so they will linger and be produced and linger as a just in case type of situation. But sometimes the body doesn't produce these, and when a pathogen comes in, it will take time to recognize it again. And so you're immune when your body has already set up a defense against a particular pathogens. We're invaded with pathogens all day, every day. It's just that these pathogens are not as nearly lethal as our conversations about SARS and all these other different pandemics or more deadly pathogens. Okay, and so the body remembers these things, but they're unsure about when it comes to this particular virus. And so they're seeing evidence, or evidence is coming through so far, that some people are reporting what they're calling or describing a reinfection, but they're not even sure if it's a reinfection like that, because they're not sure to the extent of the recovery. And that's another thing. They're not sure how to specifically define recovered. When we see these statistics and it'll say like certain amount of people got infected and then X number of people recovered, that recovery definition is a case versus recovery. Active case, people who are hospitalized versus people whose symptoms have diminished to a point where they could be released. That's being described as a recovery. Then there's a viral component to it, to where the virus can't be detected or the antibodies are detected. And so there's different ways to look at it. And they're not quite sure about all this stuff yet. It's too early. Okay, so there are reports where people are describing what they're going through as a reinfection, and the reinfection has been described as worse than an initial infection. Okay, so I don't know if I helped you out with that. Christine, facts about the ventilator. It actually suffocates them and die because the fluid fills up with their lungs. Yeah, yeah, if you talk to a person who deals with that, if you ever get a chance to talk to one, and they'll tell you that it's very, very, it's a big challenge to ventilate people who are suffering from stuff like this. There's ventilation procedures that are less deadly and stuff like that in terms of whatever they're being ventilated for. But in terms of this, because it's a respiratory, and it you have this immune response called a cytokine storm that basically alerts your immune system to go on a whole full on nuclear war with these cells, and it kills good cells as well as the bad cells and things like that. It's not a good thing at all.
So if ventilators are not a good idea, then is it more of a survival of the fittest? Wait it out. I mean, we don't have no medication. We don't have no vaccine.
Well, the ventilators should be a last resort, and whether to put somebody on a ventilator or not mainly depends on the amount of oxygen that their body is getting. And so I forget the numbers. I don't know the numbers by heart, but if your oxygen intake is below a certain threshold, then your body, if that is prolonged, your body will start to go through other problems, and you'll eventually die anyway. You'll have organ failures and things like that. So that's why they will ventilate people to bring that threshold or that number, that oxygen intake above that threshold. Now, whatever's causing the oxygen to deplete, the oxygen intake to deplete, that's a major factor in the survivability once you do get on a ventilator and stuff. You see, so because there's no real definitive therapeutic for COVID-19 or a vaccine or treatment, then putting someone on a ventilator is almost literally just buying them time for their body to hopefully do its job. It's a purchase of time, as if time is on sale and a ventilator is trying to put a bid in to buy time. That's what it is. And so, and that can get real ugly and iffy. That's why you hear about it, and that's why people have so much to say about it. You know, so, and then that decision, the decision to put people on ventilators or not, so you got families who are who may argue, say, hey, don't put my loved one on a ventilator. Whatever the case is, some doctors don't have the family's input, and they're responsible. Their duty as a doctor is to save lives, so they're gonna make a decision to try to save the person's life or whatever, ventilate the person, whatever. So it's a lot going on with that. All right, so let me keep going down. Let's see. Serology is done in the hospital. The ones they do at these testing sites are nasal swabs. For the most part, yeah, that's true. But they do have sites where they draw your blood, though. Like I said, my sister is on the front lines in urgent care and stuff like that. They do have sites. Most of the drive through. If you're talking about the drive through, then absolutely, the drive through testing sites are um the swabs. You stay in your car. Actually, you stay in your car, tip your head back. They stick the thing way back in your throat. I mean, in your nose. Sorry, your nose, and do what they do. All right, let's keep going real quick. Oh shoot, I have to go for now. I'll check. Okay, recording. Christina Williams, are you a doctor? Nope. Oh, I don't know if you're asking me, but if in case you ask me, anybody ask me, no, I am not a doctor. All right. So, yeah, and I don't, and I don't play one on TV either. Okay, so Christine Williams says, does the CDC encourage vaccines? Facts have shown us the damage these vaccines have done in cases of autism. Does it tell you that you can't sue these vaccine makers and you want me to trust? Okay, so Christine, there is a lot of information that completely refutes and debunks the vaccine autism argument. So much so that I'm not going to waste my time tonight to even go into it. But I will encourage you to look into the arguments that speak about the vaccine's relationship to autism. There's a whole bunch of information that's completely what do you call it, reverse engineered that whole argument to the point where it just obliviates the argument about vaccines being related to autism. All right, so start there and then do more research on that. Now, in terms of trusting the CDC, like I said, I don't, and I doubt that you do these tests for everybody in the United States and these numbers. Records are given on a state by state, county by county. Local governments report to the the whole state. The state reports to a organizational institution that deals with the numbers for the entire United States. These are the numbers we get. These are reporting numbers from local all the way up to the total people who keep the total numbers and stuff and all the stats and everything. These are the numbers that we have to work with. So if you don't trust them, then you're going to be out of the loop in terms of seeing what's what and how things move and how things are affected. But nobody's going to make you trust it. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you to trust anything. All right. So, I can only encourage you to do your due diligence. All right. And that's what I do. And I would hope that you have a good, valid reason for trusting or not trusting any particular thing. All right. Because if you ask me, I'm able to back up everything that I'm saying. Okay. And I follow the evidence. All right. Let me see. Keep on going down. Let's see. They clearly don't know the difference between a bacteria and a virus. Okay. Unbiased piece. This was my first time catching a broadcast. I will go back and check your previous broadcast. Okay. Like a restaurant eating. All right. I am. Okay. I want to join, but I don't have Zoom on this phone and I forget my Apple ID. Okay. Let's see. Essential Immunology, 8th edition. Okay. Fake news, call in Christine. All right. So I'm now caught up on the chat. All right. So I think this is gonna bring me to a close. So Mo, you got anything? I don't even know if Mo's still here. Let's see.
I'm sitting here. I just can't. I have to remember for the next time. It has something to do with the symptoms, but I can't remember. So I have to think about it for the next time.
Okay, hold on. They said I should be able to give a number. Let me give a number out. So give me 1 second here.
Oh yeah, you just got to go on your Zoom account, my account, in your broadcast.
Oh, really?
Yeah, were you what you on the meeting or the webinar?
Meeting. I'm on a meeting.
Yeah, if you click on the one for today, if you look down, if you click copy invitate, if you click the invitation, you should be able to see where it has a link, and then underneath it, you should see the numbers, the phone numbers.
Okay, yeah, I see those, but which one do the people use to call in? Uh,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm asking which one. Oh, the
Oh, yeah. It should say US numbers or international numbers.
all right. Let me just paste this in here. It says U.S. Chicago, U.S. New York.
Yeah. So the first one you can use anyone.
All right, I'm gonna paste all this in here for you for anyone who wants
Yeah,
to
just
jump
send them
in.
all of it. They know the numbers.
All right, so there you go. Meeting ID, the password, one tap, mobile. That's the numbers. Those are the numbers. Sorry about it being jumbled up, but I'm gonna paste it again. See if we get anybody that can at least call in. All right, so Christine Williams asks, I assume that you all have taken the test. So when the vaccines are available, will you take it? You know, someone else asked me that today, and I'm gonna tell you the same answer I gave them. Um, Number one, a vaccine for this particular situation is too far in the future for anyone to have a serious conversation about vaccines. All right, that's number one. But despite that, in general, I do not have a problem with safe and effective vaccines. So that's my stance all day, every day. I don't have a problem with any vaccine that is safe and effective. So in the future, if the opportunity and situation calls for it and there's a safe and effective vaccine um, that will assist the body in to defend against SARS-CoV-2 and stuff like that, then I will address it then. But it's too far in the future for me to have any like intelligible conversation about it. All right. So that's my stance, personal stance. And, you know, other people may
Yeah,
have
I'm back.
a feeling.
I'm vaccine I'm vaccinated up. So, coming out of the military and going overseas, I think I've had a little bit of everything. So I have the same position. If once all the trials and in the future and all that great stuff, then I don't have an issue with it as well.
Yeah.
Especially being that we're in the midst of an actual pandemic. In my lifetime, I think this is the first one. And to see how how it actually affects you, then I don't see why not. Um, why wouldn't I? Only I'm like trying to figure out that. Well, I think you answered it early, and I'm going to go back and replay that response in reference to when did you contract it and how it actually affects the body. That's where I'm at with that.
Yeah. Um, oh, hold up. I'm sorry. I'm trying to paste this. Another number. Yeah, that's important. And here's another component that is not often talked about is the nutrition side. And I know a lot of people would like to talk more about that because overwhelmingly the news and all the focus has been on just when a vaccine comes, take a vaccine, and nobody really talks about health, the state of the health of people and stuff like that. And so and I hear that a lot, especially doing what I do. I hear it all the time. And no one should ever that stuff out. But here's something that everyone should be clear on: no food and no supplement that you're going to find or ever be able to take will prevent you from being infected by a new pathogen. So I'm gonna repeat that. Um, you're not going to be able to find a supplement on the shelf or food at your grocery store or natural pharmacy. I mean, farm or whatever that's going to prevent you from being infected by a pathogen. What food does, it provides your body nutrients so that your body can optimize itself to defend and function properly. And the main function of our immune systems is to defend against foreign objects that cause disease. That is what pathogens are. And so it only reacts based upon infection. So if a new virus, if your body comes in contact with a new virus, which is something that it's never seen before, it's never interacted, never dealt with before, it's going to greet it first, and then if it's harmful as a pathogen, it's going to develop things that's going to fight against it. And so in the development and the defense against it, that's what the nutrition and nutrients are for, that you take all day every day as your lifestyle, so that your body will always be in an optimal position or situation to be able to fight and do whatever it needs to do to fight against it. So that's how that plays in. That's how nutrition plays in. Nutrition is not the Superman savior that once you get infected, then you're gonna take some food and it's gonna kick the it's gonna kill the pathogen or kill viruses and things like that. That's not how it works.
I actually thought that. Not necessarily that it was going to kill it, but that if I took, you know, these different herbs and things, that it will prevent me from getting it. And then, of course, I mean, I know a little bit better now. But now you summed it up that, those are things we should have anyway. And so it kind of keeps us in survival mode. So, because I definitely purchase, I mean, there's a lot of people on the market selling sea moss and elderberry and all that great stuff and putting it in the jail. And I ain't gonna tell you no pills. I know I done spent some dollars on it. And I haven't gotten sick or anything, but not sick as far as the COVID. I really enjoyed the effects of what it was doing with the way my body, how I felt with it as far as energy and things of that nature that I was getting from all of the minerals and nutrients and all that great stuff. So but at first I did think, I definitely went out and bought my little ginger root and made my tea with my cayenne pepper and my cinnamon. Not just knew that I was that I was preventing the virus, that it was like some type of defense mechanism. Like I lived by it. I was drinking it every day and
Mm.
warm and then of course, you all come on and y'all bust my little bubble and I was like, oh man, but guess what? I feel good.
Well, hold up. But see, so now here's the thing, because I always want to make sure that it's crystal clear. So so eating healthy is a must. Like
Yeah.
providing our body with all the nutrients that our body needs is like a must. Like if you don't do that, you're just basically just really, really crazy. You lost your mind.
Trash
And
can in my body.
yeah, so here's the important thing that people need to distinguish, that eating healthy, you could eat the most healthiest food on the planet Earth. Um, that's not, I mean, when it comes to pathogens, the way that pathogens interplay with our bodies and how our bodies interplay with pathogens through the immune system, because of that, people got to distinguish between eating healthy and putting your body in the best position to fight. It's like training. It's like if you're gonna go in a boxing match, you're gonna go through your training period, and you're gonna do all the exercises, all the preparation that you need for that particular fight. So the idea of training camp is to put your body in the most optimal shape to handle your opponent. You don't know exactly what your opponent is going to do literally that day and stuff like that, but all you want to do is make sure that you're in the best shape you could possibly be to handle whatever your opponent throws at you. And so that's the same thing about the human body and the immune system. We should be about the business of putting things in our body that's going to make our bodies be in the most optimal state to fight against whatever that we get and come in contact with in terms of a pathogen. And remember, the idea about the viruses and immune system is a matter of time, because no physician, no doctor, or even the drugs that people take are actually healing us it's our own bodies that heal us. Like our own bodies heal us, and our own immune system is a big part of that healing process and stuff to fight against these things. And so we just got to give it the proper tools so it could do its job. And that's what it's about. And so it can't prevent the invader, because once you're infected, but the response, and so it's a matter of time. So here's the thing. So we're bombarded by pathogens all the time. It's just that our body has time to fight it. You know, our body's been fighting it ever since we were babies. When we crawl on the floor, put our fingers in our mouth, touch the floor, we're introducing bacteria, germs, viruses, all kinds of things into our body slowly but surely, even as babies. You know, um, so we have that going on all the time. But every now and then we have a faster and more deadlier pathogen that will get introduced in our body, and it will operate faster than the time frame that our body can react to it. That's when we need vaccines. Vaccine is like a thing that shortens the response time, because what a vaccine does essentially is it trains your body to recognize the pathogen before the real pathogen invades it. And so and there's different types of vaccines. So you have what's called an attenuated vaccine. For example, it's one of the few types. An attenuated vaccine is like a lesser version of the actual pathogen. And so what it does is it enters your body, and your immune system will develop antibodies against it. And by it developing antibodies against the attenuated version, those same antibodies will work against the active, live, full-blown version of the pathogen, and therefore it'll already be in your body. So if the pathogen comes in and infects you, your body already responds quickly. And the operative word is quickly. Time is the issue. It's all about time. Because if the virus replicates faster than your body's able to defend against it, guess what? It's going to overtake. And that's what these serious viruses and infections do. SARS-1, SARS-2, Ebola, um, the Spanish flu, influenza, the bird flu, swine flu, all these other kind of things. It's a race against the clock. That's what it's about. And so eating properly will get your body to optimally respond in a good amount of time and produce whatever it has to produce. But now, last thing I'm gonna say is you got to be careful of doing too much, because your immune system can respond too much, too fast, and overdo it. It can actually kill you. And a lot of times it is our immune system that actually kills us.
Okay, so do it in moderation.
Well, I mean,
I mean, like basically, you know how you said, the dosage, we're supposed to take one a day, do one a day, don't try to do three.
well, of course, you definitely want to follow whatever regimen that you got going on. You want to
Right.
follow the instructions. But here it is the thing. It's about balancement, because you can take a supplement that your body needs, a supplement, but then your body, you see, our bodies need a whole list of things. And if we pile up on one thing and give your body that, it still may not operate properly, because it has to connect to another mineral or another nutrient to cause it to operate, more holistically. And if it's missing that, then it can't function properly, and it may misfunction. So, like, for example, I mentioned earlier, cytokine storm in the body. The cytokine, you got histamine and cytokine storm. Cytokines and histamine um are connected to inflammation. And so when we get cut, that's our immune system at work. Like the biggest part of our innate immune system is the skin. People don't people don't consider that, in a regular conversation, but our skin is part of our immune system, believe it or not. And so if we get cut, um, your immune system responds and it triggers inflammation. It triggers a bunch of other types of cells, neutrophils, macrophages, and all these other kind of things that eat up the bacteria that could be present, and all these other kind of things to allow time for your body to heal and repair itself. And so inflammation is part of that process. But that's a cut. That's what we could see. You get cut, you always see inflammation. It turns red. That's because the blood um is there, inflammation is there, all those good things are there, right? That's what we can see when we get a cut. But internally, we can't see these things. So when this virus attacks our lungs and stuff like that, that same type of stuff is going on. Inflammation, fluid is in the area, damage to the area. What is that? I forget the term. The air, it's the air sac. I forget what it's technically called. Those little very, very, very small air sacs in our lungs, the very minute part of that, those get damaged, those get filled, those become inoperable, and then we can't breathe as good as we once breathed before, and our immune system is attacking, doing all this stuff, you know, um, flooding it. So we risk that. And so just like the cytokine can storm in, there are other chemicals and other things that are released to counter that. Similarly to adrenaline, like when we in a fight or flight, we have cortisol, and then we have the counter to cortisol, and I forget what that term is, forgive me y'all, but there is a another chemical that our body release that reverses the fight or flight response. So it's a chemical that causes us to stress up, to be stressed. And then there's an anti-stress chemical that's released to bring us back down. So if you feel threatened, if you feel like your life's in danger, your body's going to release chemicals to put you in a state to either fight or flight. Once you realize mentally that you're no longer in danger and that everything is all good and everything is cool, there's another chemical that's supposed to calm you back down. And we call it calming back down, but it actually counters the cortisol that's released to trigger your adrenal glands, and pump adrenaline in you and all this other kind of things. There's chemicals that counter that. Well, likewise with the immune system, there are responsive things that happen to fight, and then there are things that happen to calm everything back down. And so if those two things are out of whack, then the soldiers are going to show up. They're not going to listen to anybody telling them to calm down, and they're going to do their job, and they're going to kill good cells. I'm just giving like a little analogy. But anyway, so I've been on here long enough. Talked a lot. Alveoli, yeah, in Indonesia, appreciate that. 5,000. Christine Williams, I think it's more of a plandemic, not a pandemic. Just my opinion. Yeah, there's a lot of people that think it's a plandemic, but they can never prove it. There's no evidence of any of this being planned at all. But I know there's a lot of people that feel that way. I've talked to a lot of people that feel that it's a pandemic. This is all a plan. It's a hoax. I actually had a conversation today with somebody that thinks that they know the virus is actual real virus, but they feel that it's overly hyped. They feel that it's not serious. It's not as deadly as they say. It's like the common cold. It's like the flu.
Yeah, they mixed up deadly with contagious. Yeah, I think the main concern about this virus is how contagious it is, how rapidly it can spread to person. So much so it could shut down a whole nation and the world, basically.
Yep.
The world, yeah.
Right. Hey,
And
Mo.
hey, what's up, Unbiased? You know, when I seen the news reporter Chris Pomo, and he broadcast while he was going through his, and how red and how fatigued, and that's like the closest I got to somebody who actually, and I was like, man, this is serious. They're crazy. That's when I turned off craziness. I was like, man, he was like, oof, he was going through it.
You're talking about
So
the brother of the governor of New York, right?
no, oh, yeah, the brother, yeah, on the CNN reporter, yeah, he broadcast, and they kept trying to make him not, but he did it so that he had the doctor on with him, and they would talk through his symptoms and things. So of course he was doing it to help somebody else who may not have been privy to a doctor at their exposure.
Yeah, yeah.
But it looked painful. Looked
Yeah,
pretty painful.
I'm gonna tell you, the governor of New York. I think that out of the people who are informing their public, they're being responsible and informing people. I think he's done. Um, he's definitely in the top three that has done a good job at being transparent and then updating people, informing people on a regular basis. And their numbers show it, like what they've gone
Yeah.
through, what the whole state of New York has gone through, and the numbers show the effects of how he handled it so far, at least so far, and stuff like that. Opposite of Brazil, opposite of Florida, and other places that they're catching hell right now.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm biased. I want to say what you said is also important. The difference between the contagious aspect of something versus its quote unquote deadly aspect. People are confusing that, but the reason why the contagious part is so alarming or so important to these epidemiologists is because of the newness of the coronavirus. They don't know what it all can do in the short term, and definitely not, they don't know what the long term is, because there is no such thing as a long term yet. They don't, like, they're starting to wonder, because of evidence that's happening, real time now, that there's signs of some long term effects of this, that people who catch the virus, who fully recover, quote unquote recover, because their symptoms cease, which really means their immune system stopped responding to it, because it's below the threshold of where it needs to respond. But they're saying that the virus has done damage that's going to result in long-term effects. 5 years, 10 years down the road, people may have respiratory issues. You know, damage is being done in people's bodies, in their organs, and they're finding that um, it can affect the brain with neurological issues later down the line, and kidneys, pancreas, and I believe, of course, the respiratory tract. You know, so it's nothing to be played with. And just because people don't die doesn't mean that we should downplay this at all. And I had a conversation today. I asked somebody who tried to downplay it. I asked them, I said, um, do people commonly die from herpes? And they had to say no. I said, but nobody wants it, right? I said, okay, so, or STD period. Outside of AIDS and stuff, in terms of HIV causing AIDS and things like that. I said STDs, people usually don't nowadays don't die from an STD. But if it goes undetected and untreated, it can cause a whole lot of complications as time goes on later in life, and so on and so forth. Affect the, whether people can have children, and all kinds of things can happen, later, long down the line. So I was saying that the fact of somebody dying or not should never be the litmus to have a discussion about a virus or not, because nobody wants gonorrhea, nobody wants syphilis, nobody wants herpes, or none of those kinds of things. And because people don't want it, and notice that those things I just said, they're not known for dropping people, killing people like that, not in this day and time, like that. But people don't want it. So you're looking at something that is less deadly, and people don't want it so much so that they're going to do what it takes to prevent themselves from getting it by way of wearing condoms, or women demanding men wear condoms, and so on and so forth, or being abstinent. But here we have a virus that's known to kill people, and the numbers are spiking. People don't know too much about the virus and stuff like that, but yet people are fighting against protecting themselves. And I had to bring this up today in a conversation that's weird that people will fight from protecting themselves with a known deadly virus because we see the numbers, but yet on something that is much less deadly, we know way more about, talking about the different STIs or STDs, but yet people will go out their way and go to the gas station and pick up a box of condoms and stuff and do this, that, and the third to prevent all that. But they won't do the same thing for masks and social distancing and washing hands. So that's weird to me. That's inconsistent logic. And I pointed that out, and then the person didn't really have much to say after I put that logic, that logic side by side like that. So it's just weird. And then when when you do that, people divert and they try to, change the subject and move the goalposts. I'm used to that, but I don't let them move the goalposts because I just remove the whole football field. Like, listen, you're not getting up out of here. You're gonna deal with. You're gonna
Did you
deal
say you
with what
moved
I
the whole
said.
football field?
Yeah, I just take it away. You can't move no goalposts.
Yeah, let me insert this. Rabies is very deadly. It goes untreated. More deadly than COVID-19, but it's hard to spread. Okay, Ebola, very, very deadly. Okay, it's hard to spread. So a lot of deadly diseases are hard to spread. It's not that easy to spread like things like flu, COVID, measles, stuff like that. That's just the way it is.
Yeah, that's a good point. So I'm just gonna add something on that, is that the ideal situation for a virus is not to kill its host.
Right.
And so the most deadliest viruses are the ones that will do a little bit of damage but not kill a person and keep you alive and cause you to be highly infectious. And a lot of those viruses that fit that description are respiratory ones because it's by way of coughing and sneezing that the viruses can spread way more than
Yep.
just through bodily fluid, like an STD. An STD or STI, a sexually transmitted infection or disease, and the transference that way is usually through bodily fluid. And so you have to do much more to get infected that way than something respiratory where you sneeze and cough out there in the air, and even just talking, shouting, and stuff like that. So some of these viruses kill people too fast, and they don't have a chance. They don't have a chance to spread as fast, and that's what those other ones you mentioned ended up being.
Right.
And so that's a big factor that people have to understand. And then here's another thing. I want to say this too. I'm glad I just remembered this, is that the word pandemic is being misused by so many people. People associate the word pandemic with life or death.
Right.
And it has nothing to do with life or death at all. Pandemic has everything to do with how a virus or pathogen spreads, whether it's a
Yep.
bacteria or a virus or whatever. Pandemic deals with spreadability and not death or life.
Yep.
And people need to get that in their heads and stop misusing the word pandemic, because people are saying that I don't know why they calling the coronavirus a pandemic. The flu is the flu is a pandemic, and this and that. Because it's like not that many people die. It's like, man, it's 300 million people in the United States, only 100,000 die. Why they call it a pandemic? And stuff like that. So people don't understand these terms or anything. So it's really about educating people, giving them access to information, and then hope and hope for the best. Just hope that people will read and do their research. So last thing, Christine Williams says, I don't take any vaccines and have not for 5 years, and I don't get the flu. I won't be taking the test or vaccine. I am 67 and only have occasional seasonal allergies. Well, Christine, let me tell you, I have never taken a flu shot.
Me either.
I have never taken a flu shot, and I don't get the flu. I have allergies. I've had allergies all my life. I get allergies twice a year. Once in the spring, whatever grows in the spring and whatever grows around September. Whatever those two things are, specifically, I catch allergies. I've been catching allergies all my life to the point where I know how to I deal with it. Like it's like second nature. And so I'm in the same boat. But here's the thing: in my lifetime, I've never lived through a pandemic like this. So so me personally, I don't make those general blanket type statements prematurely. So if COVID-19 if they learn more about it and they find out some more bad things about it, long-term things that it may not cause immediate death, but it may be long-term things, stuff like that, and a safe and effective vaccine is made, then I may be in that line. I may or may not be. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I'm just putting that out there. With me, it's about safety and effectiveness, and if it's necessary. So it's too early to determine that. Now, if they announce a vaccine tomorrow, if they say, "Hey, we got a vaccine tomorrow," yeah, I would definitely be avoiding avoiding that vaccine right there. I'm gonna tell you that right now because that means they rushed it. I mean, I have to see now. I have to see the efficacy, the safety in it, and the fact that it went through all the proper steps and phases and channels and this, that, and the third. That's me.
Although they are putting all efforts into to get this done quick as possible, quicker than ever actually in the history of
Yeah.
vaccines because of its seriousness. Like I said, it shut down the whole world, and the country and is on the brink of like a minor collapse. Like it can't be a second wave and third wave, and this country can stay afloat or stay a superpower. So they're putting all their resources behind this vaccine.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So like I'm telling you, we're in July. If they have some breaking news that Nova whatever company comes out with vaccine whatever, then I think people will have a valid concern about that.
Right now, I hate to go backwards, but I heard somebody mention autism. Now, if I was to ask you to give me the article, I bet you couldn't do it, or tell me who was behind the article. There was two known articles. All right, one the person alluded. He never came out and said it. Yeah, we learned that from Andrew Wakefield. He alluded to it, and he retracted his own article. Then you had Brian Hooker, who actually did a reanalysis, and he actually retracted his. So the only two known articles that ever said that there was association between vaccines and autism, the authors themselves retracted it. So you don't have any information on that. And then you're skipping the real factors they call autism. Like for one is women in old age. You have women having babies 38, 40, like they're severe high risk of autism and all type of ways you like malnutrition. So those and pollution and so many factors that's proven that adds to the risk of having a child that's autistic and siblings also.
You really have to see that last part. You didn't kill all my dreams.
Well, it's not
I'm just
guaranteed.
listening.
Yeah, it's just saying that there's a concern. It's not guaranteed. It's just saying like be on the lookout or be aware, and plan for that. As a possibility. So you won't be caught off guard.
Yeah, that's important. I think, like I said, what I noticed that happens, even in the conversations that I participate in, a lot of information is regurgitated, reparroted information, and that's just the nature of how these conversations go because people are exposed to different things at different times. So they're exposed to information at different times. So they'll bring it up it'll be new to them, fresh to them. But to me, for example, it's like 3 months old. I'm like, man, we going back to autism, or we going back to whether COVID-19 is was made in a laboratory, or whether it came from a bat or not. Like, man, do you understand that these conversations are like, we're so far past that? But I get it and I understand. And so this is why it's important for organizations to have a one-stop place for people to keep their finger on the pulse of updated information. But here's the weird thing: when an organization rise to the occasion to do that, they're demonized. For example, the CDC,
Right.
the vital statistics system, the NCHS organization or institution. All these places where you would go to get this kind of data, they're demonized. And it's weird. That's really weird. It's like the system that's in place to give us this is demonized first, so that when it comes time to have a need for these numbers, we can't trust it. And that's the most backwardest thing that I see all the time. And it's crazy to me because I hear people to quote the CDC for other things, but then when it comes to this stuff, all of a sudden it's bad. They inflate numbers. Well, tonight nobody could say that they have a hidden agenda with these numbers, because they explain in black and white on their website. I think people should just spend a whole night just to read the CDC website. Everything is explained on the website: how they get the numbers, how the deaths are tallied up, what the numbers mean, what they mean by case, what they mean by confirmed case, what they mean by probable case, what the definitions for those things are, what they mean by the positivity rate, what they mean by the mortality rate, what they mean by the case in death rate versus the infection death rate. That's the number that they're really trying to get. That they don't have by nature. They will not have it, because cases by definition are people who actually get tested. Infection are people who, if you can know everybody who's infected and get that rate, that would be the best number that we could ever have. But by nature, we won't have that, because there are people who are infected that do not get tested, or they don't even think that they are infected in the first place. And so we'll never get that as a count, as a number attributed to the total. But that's the number that we would love to have, that we would need to have. But let me say this too: the death certificate issue is important. So, and I don't think I mentioned this earlier. So this will be the last thing I'm saying. On the death certificate, the reason why the probables are included is because we all need to know how this virus is behaving in terms of on a community level and nation level. We need to know where the virus is, where it's most prevalent, how it is spreading, the rate of spreadability, and the rate of infection and stuff like that. And so on the death certificates, if a person is confirmed to have COVID-19, that's a no-brainer. And I already discussed that. That's the laboratory confirmation. But on the probable ones, they're listed as well, but they're listed a certain way. So let me do this. I'm gonna end by playing this. And I forgot to play this earlier. I should have played this the first thing. But let me do this. I want to show everybody how easy this is. I'm gonna tell you, man, people, I think, we're just lazy. But listen, I'm sharing my screen right now. And on my screen is YouTube. This is the YouTube channel of the NCHS, the National Center of Health Statistics. Okay. This is their YouTube channel. The very last video, the most recent video that they have on their channel is 2 months old, and it's called "Certifying Deaths Due to Coronavirus Disease." All right, I'm gonna click on it. I'm gonna pause it for a second. Okay. It's only 3 minutes long, but I want y'all to look at something. Look how many views it has. It only has 10,000 views. Well, I'll say 11,000. It was put up in May. So it was put up 2 months ago, right? It only has 10,000 views. Now you would think a video like this, with all the conspiracy and all the concern, that people would look for this and watch it. A link to this is on the CDC website. At that, this how you know people don't read, or they're not even concerned. But in this 3-minute video, they explain everything that I said about how to calculate deaths due to COVID-19 on the death certificate and the whole nine. So I'm gonna play this, and I hope I don't get flagged or something, but I'm gonna play it. Can y'all hear it? Like when I played it first, did y'all hear it?
I didn't hear it.
All right, I'm gonna tell me if you hear it.
In a public health emergency.
Yeah, we hear it.
Okay, all right. So I'm gonna rewind it. I'm gonna play this. I want everybody. This is how bad I want everybody to watch it. I'm gonna play it. So hopefully y'all can see it. Let me put it in, what's this mode? Theater mode. Okay, y'all should be able to see it. All right, so let's watch this. 3 minutes, y'all. Let's watch it.
In a public health emergency such as COVID-19, death certificate information is critical in measuring the pandemic's effects on the population and directing the appropriate public health response. Death certificates provide crucial data on causes of death and are used to document deaths resulting from this pandemic. This can only be done with complete and accurate cause of death reporting. When COVID-19 is determined to be the cause of death, it is important that it be reported on the death certificate. Otherwise, proper tracking of the pandemic is not possible. Proper cause of death certification requires that you use your best clinical judgment to determine the causes of death to report in the cause of death section of the death certificate. Report the immediate cause on line A.
I'm gonna pause it there. I said this earlier. There's a hierarchical or chain of events that lead up to the actual cause of death. And I said 2 nights ago that technically, if we want to be real technical, people die of cardiac arrest. But if you notice on death certificates, they don't put cardiac arrest on the death certificate because of how they categorize conditions that lead up to that cardiac arrest. But the technical moment of death is usually a cardiac arrest. All right. So, but this is important to pay attention to because they have slots that will show a logical flow of the immediate cause of death and then things or chain of things that lead up to it. Okay. And so I want y'all to listen in on it.
This condition should be followed by any relevant intermediate causes in a logical.
So you got the immediate cause of death, then you got your intermediate cause of death on the next line.
Sequence in terms of time and etiology below. A specific underlying cause should go on the lowest line used in part 1. Leave any unused lines blank. Any other conditions that may have contributed but were not part of the sequence in part 1 should be reported in part 2. If COVID-19 is determined to be the underlying cause, it should be reported on the lowest line used in part 1 with any conditions to which it gave rise, such as pneumonia or respiratory distress, in a logical sequence on the lines above.
Notice that on line A, they have acute respiratory distress syndrome. That is ARDS. If you ever hear the term ARDS, that's what it's referring to. Okay. So here you can see a logical flow, COVID-19 being the underlying cause, causing pneumonia, but then causing ARDS. And from ARDS, the person dies. Okay. So this is something people have to understand. All right. I'm going to let it keep playing.
Comorbidities that contributed to death, such as COPD or hypertension, should go in part 2.
So to pause right there, comorbidities should be written in part 2. This is when you hear people that say, okay, well, my relative died of, or they had a bout of heart problems you know, for a long time, and they go into the hospital and they're listing them as a COVID-19 patient or death. But that the reason why is because COVID-19, because they had a comorbid condition that they've been battling for years. Now that they've contracted COVID-19, it complicated all that stuff and led to a chain reaction that led to death. And that's why they're listed as a COVID-19 death. All right. So people just need to understand those simple things right there. All right. But I'm gonna let this play. It's halfway through.
A 34-year-old female went to her primary care physician complaining of 6 days of fever and cough. She was admitted and underwent a CAT scan of the chest, which revealed diffuse ground glass opacification indicative of viral pneumonia. PCR testing of respiratory specimens confirmed COVID-19. Her condition worsened over the next 2 days, and she developed ARDS. She was transferred to the ICU and started on positive pressure ventilation, but expired on hospital day 4. The immediate cause was...
So that's a scenario. So you see, they gave the example of a scenario. All right, so let's see what it's going to say next.
Acute respiratory distress syndrome. So that should be on line A as a consequence of pneumonia, which should go on line B. The underlying cause was COVID-19, so it should be reported on line C, the lowest line used in part 1. Remember, if COVID-19 is determined to be a cause of death, it should be reported on the death certificate. Report an underlying cause that is specific, along with a logical sequence of conditions to which it gave rise in part 1 and comorbidities in part 2.
So you saw, let me rewind it back a little bit. I want you to notice on the right-hand side, they had the approximate interval between the onset and death. So COVID-19 occurred 10 days prior to death. Pneumonia occurred as well 10 days prior to death. And then ARDS developed 2 days prior to death. So once this particular person suffered from ARDS,
Right.
2 days later, they expired, they passed away. But COVID-19 was determined 10 days prior to that.
Yep.
Okay, so that's very important for people to understand. Now, mind you, again, this video is linked from the CDC website, and I keep emphasizing this because people are acting crazy by saying that the CDC is hiding and conflating and
Put the link in the chat.
doing that, doing this and doing that. Yeah, I'm gonna put all these links in the chat. I mean, I'm gonna put them in the description because once I shut it down, the chat gonna shut down. So I'm gonna put all these links that I've been showing in the description of this video. So if everybody hears that, it will come back to it. They'll be able to see it.
But you know, when you play it back, the live chat plays back, so the link will still be in the playback.
All right, so let me do that now. Let me let this finish, and I'll do that while this is finishing. So it's got about 30 seconds.
By reporting a specific underlying cause with a logical sequence, you will be doing your part in ensuring the quality of cause of death information, which is needed to understand and fight this pandemic. For more information, training, and guidance on the COVID-19 pandemic and cause of death certification, see the links in the description below.
All right, that's it. And that link that they showed was the CDC. Okay, so let me put these links in here. So let me go back. Here is the Worldometer website, worldometers.info. You click on coronavirus and you get all the stats, all the update real-time stats around the world. You can click on the United States and drill down and go into the United States by state. You click on the state and it will give you more details about a particular state in the United States. So I'm going to post this in the chat right now. Give me a second. All right, so that's the first link. Okay, that's that one. Another link. This link right here is from the CDC website. This is the data on the flu. Okay, I went over this earlier. This is all the numbers that they have for the last most recent season of the flu. People get into the fantasy world and say that more people die of the flu. than coronavirus. Well, guess what? That is definitely not true. Back in March, when that was said, people could say that because of this number here. But now
Right.
you don't hear anybody saying that.
They were comparing the whole flu season for like a month or so for
Yeah,
coronavirus.
a month of coronavirus. Now the whole flu season and coronavirus can't even be compared. And I show those numbers. So let me post this up. This is from the CDC website, and this is the information on the flu. Oops, wait a minute. Where'd it go? Where'd it go? Where'd it go? Right here. Nope. Give me 1 second. I got so many windows open now. All right, here we go. So that is for the flu. All right. So now we're gonna go the next page I was sharing with you all. This is the CDC's data on the number of cases for the United States. Remember, the CDC is United States, not the WHO, not the World Health Organization, which deals with the global thing. The CDC is specific to the United States. Okay. And so this is the cases in the United States. This is the direct page. So I'm gonna post this link. And on this page, you will find the real-time numbers, but they lag I think a day behind. And then all the information I was sharing about the data, where it talks about the data itself, the definitions of confirmed versus probable counts and all that other kind of stuff. And then you got other links that you can go into. Okay, so that's that. So let me put this in the chat. Okay, so that's that link. Next, I clicked on one of these links and it opened up another window, which is this one. This is the more drilled down and detailed version of the information about how coronavirus, COVID-19 is defined in terms of a case and death. And you scroll down, I already read all this stuff, so I'm just showing y'all that's what this page is about. Again, this is the CDC website, and I'm pasting this one. All right, so that's that link. Next link. This is the map version of the stats from the CDC website. Okay, it's colorful, so it shows you the hot states. If you hovered over it, it will tell you what the state name is, the cases, all that good stuff. So here's Georgia, here's Texas, and everything like that. So I'm gonna post this link if you need a colorful visual version of it. So that's that link. The next link. This is the COVID-19 death data and resources. So this gives you a better understanding of the death certificate data, what it means, and understanding the numbers. All right. Again, this is from the CDC website. In terms of the National Center for Health Statistics, which is NCHS, which is that video I just played. All right. And it's from this site that you get to that video. Right here where it says, where is it says a video somewhere. I thought it had a video. Announcements. It was somewhere where you can actually see the video. You click on one of these and it will show you the video. But it's actually on YouTube. Okay, so let me show you. Let me post this up. All right, so that's that one. And lastly, here is the vital statistics, actual copy of the portion of the death certificate that people are talking about but not actually reading. And so here's the example from the video where you have COVID-19 listed as the underlying specific contributing condition, which led to pneumonia, which led to ARDS, which stands for acute respiratory distress syndrome. And then you have the days, interval days between the two. All right, that's in part one. And in part two, you have to put some comorbidity issues in there if these things exist. Okay. Nowhere on the vital statistics portion, nowhere on the CDC website does it ever say or implies that anybody's forced to list patients as COVID-19 or deaths as COVID-19. All right. Anyway, that's a PDF. So let me post that. conspiracy theorists are running wild, and that's it. So those are all of the And let me post up the link to this video. So this is the YouTube video I just played. So might as well post this up. Oh, wait a minute. What just happened? Okay. I'm gonna post the link to the video as well. So that's the link to the video. All right, those are all links. I'm gonna put those same links inside the description. But anyway, I've been talking a long time. This video is already real long. So any of y'all got anything to add?
Yeah. So Jesus Price said the live chat doesn't always play back. My brother, I'm watching right now the last live, and I'm watching the live playback. So I'm confident that this will follow suit like the last live.
Okay, but even still, even if it doesn't, the safety net is that I'm gonna post the exact same links in the description. So I know that they'll be there. So in case some fluke does happen, it doesn't play back. But yeah, anyway, so again, I want to say what I said in the beginning. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a medical physician. I don't play one online. I don't play one on YouTube. I don't play one on TV. I don't claim to be a specialist or expert in the medical field. I have relatives who are, and even still, I don't transfer their expertise over to me. So I say that to say that I'm my purpose, or what I try to do, is to be a voice of reason, to share information, to let people know that the information, one, is accessible, and a lot of these things are knowable, and that a lot of people misinterpret, misconstrue, or just plain out silly and ignorant, and just do a lot of talking about information that they know nothing about or they themselves haven't looked into. And so it's very, very easy to debunk or refute a lot of different things. Some things are valid. Now I don't want to make it seem like I summarily dismiss any and all of what people say, but for the most part, there's a very high percentage that is really just BS. The ones that have valid concerns, those are people who actually look into it, and they may have valid concerns. So for example, a valid concern could be what I mentioned earlier, the fact that there was tons of people protesting, not wearing the mask, the holiday season of Memorial Day, 4th of July, even, and whatnot. A lot of people have been around each other, but yet the number of deaths due to COVID-19 seems to be dropping. So what's up with that?
Right.
And that's a valid question, but there is an answer. So here's the thing. Don't have even a valid question and not get the answer, but then run the conspiracy route.
Yep, that's what happens.
Don't just ask a question, and because you may not have looked for the answer, or whatever the case is, don't automatically switch on the conspiracy switch. Okay, a lot of these things are knowable and answerable. And so that's one thing. Another thing is that people got to stop um levying these accusations against things that are not there. They're making up things. Bill Gates is a prime example of people just throw him under the bus any and every time, every conversation. Dr. Fauci, they prefer Dr. Rashid Buttar over Dr. Fauci.
Man, what's the other guy, the comedian, Benny Carson? I even heard him mention, in the realm of science, a comedian. Wow.
Yeah, you have him. You have Dr. Burtz. You have people throw her under the bus, and people like that. But yet they'll elevate people like Judy Mikovits.
Or
They'll
Brian
ele-
Hooker.
they'll elevate Brian Hooker. They'll they'll elevate Dr. Rashid. They'll elevate Dr. Shiva and stuff like that. They'll elevate those people and hang on their every word. But when it comes to the people who actually take the stats, who actually explain the stats and do this, that, and the third and whatnot, all that's a conspiracy.
Right. If y'all just followed up on the guys he just mentioned, that you hang on every word. If you actually fact check them yourself, you can debunk them. very easily.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's really, really, really easy. And they be playing. Oh man, here's a repeat. This is not even something that's new, but it's gone reviral again. It's like a reinfection of a viral meme. There's a viral video that's going around. It's making a second round where they took news clips of all these different places reporting 33 new cases. Have you seen that?
No.
Okay, well, it's a lot of different places and news clips where people are saying there's 33 new coronavirus cases, 33 new, and so it's repeating the number 33, 33, 33, 33. And so people are saying
Oh yeah, I seen that.
there's a
Yo,
conspiracy.
yo, my
33,
God.
New World Order, Freemasonry, 33 degrees, and it's a
Jesus.
script. Yeah, and it's a script. That everybody's following. That's proof that it's a hoax and stuff like that. Man, that thing got chewed up the first time.
You could you could find a same thing with 17, 25, 99.
Yep, 199. All you gotta do is
Right.
Google 199, and at some point,
Right.
a lot of locations are gonna report a certain number,
Yeah.
and not all at the same time. So they took all these different reports, clipped them together, and made it seem like it was it's some kind of conspiracy. So that's crazy, boy. So that's another thing. And so here's the bottom line. Last thing I'm gonna say. I know I say it all the time, but this is really gonna be the last thing. I encouraging people to practice good hygiene, which means wash your hands. Try your best not to put your hands in your face. Practice social distancing. If you don't have to be around people, don't. And then if you have to be around people, wear a mask. Bottom line. Don't be up in your house in your 1-bedroom apartment where you live alone and you wearing a mask all day. That's dumb. That's crazy to be by yourself and wear a mask. It's crazy to drive a car, your own car, and be by yourself in the car and you're traveling and stuff like that, and you wearing a mask. Okay, so wear a mask when it's appropriate. It's when you're around other people, or you're getting around people and you can't be distant from anybody. If you're around anybody, basically, if you go into any location where there's other people, wear a mask. It's not hard. When you get back home, take it off. Wash your hands and stuff like that. Take the mask off. You don't have to wear it all day. You don't have to worry about carbon dioxide poison or hypoxia or the lack of oxygen and all this other crazy stuff that people talk about. Even though those things are not true, but even still, don't wear it all day. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, that's it. Y'all got anything?
Yeah, last thing is this. So it's funny how they like you said, they critique the experts, but when they want to support a theory that they agree with, they'll go and find anybody, unqualified as they are, misinformation, nothing connects, nothing adds up, and they'll hold on to that because it agrees with their current, worldview. Because the fact is, like, they already believe that the government can't be trusted. There's a lot of things going on, so you just need something there to feed that, and you take that hook, line, and sinker.
Yep, you're right. You're right. I see it all the time. And that's a whole nother topic to talk about. Whether people really mean that they don't trust the government or not. Like let's really define that.
Oh my God.
Like, do they really trust the government or not?
Of course.
Because I know if I don't trust somebody, like if I thought somebody was out to kill me, two things are gonna happen. You're either gonna take the threat out, eliminate the threat, or you're gonna eliminate or remove yourself from being in the vicinity of a threat.
Right.
That's it. It's only two options. And so why would I live in a place if I truly believe that the people who control the place is out to kill me? Why would I stay 30 years under those and live under those conditions as a
Smoking their
functioning
cigarettes,
adult?
drinking their liquor.
Exactly. Banking in their banks, trusting, you know what I'm saying, trusting the grocery stores like the FDA. I'm trusting that this
Mhm.
thing's not contaminated.
The
I'm
water you
trusting.
wash up in,
Yeah.
it has lead poison, right? They trying to kill you.
You know what I'm saying? Even if it's not drinking water, the water that I'm washing things with, the water you know what I'm saying? So people, I mean, people really, really just do a lot of talking. I don't think people really ready to have that conversation. But I'm gonna bust that conversation wide open though, one of these days, real soon. But all right, I'm out of here, man. It's almost 12 o'clock. I've been talking all night. And
Yes,
so
sir.
hopefully people will come back to this and have some takeaways. If not, then hey, it is what it is. But the next time I talk about this is probably going to be about the things that people don't talk about when it comes to COVID-19, such as um the difficulty in people getting life insurance or health insurance, um the difficulties people go through psychologically from the social distancing, the difficulty people go through from having a loved one who is hospitalized for COVID-19 that you cannot go see. And if they pass away, that means that you never get a chance to see them and say goodbye to them ever again. And these people, you know, suffer and die alone. People don't think about all those kind of things and the inconvenience that even if you're healthy but you test positive, you can't go around your own family and loved ones. That's very inconvenient. You can't go to work.
Read Christine last comment.
Okay, Christine Williams, I appreciate your information, but all I know is whenever I had the flu, it was when I took the vaccine. And since I stopped taking it, I no longer get the flu or colds, my body's choice. Yeah, I mean, you know, I'm not a person that push um that. Like if people have a concern, I just hope, I can only hope that people will have um valid reasons behind their opinion or choice and make informed decisions. Like I said, if they came out of virus tomorrow, I would probably run the opposite way. Like
Vaccine.
literally. Yeah, vaccine. If they came out with a vaccine tomorrow for COVID-19, I don't I'm not I wouldn't be feeling that. But see, if I say that, I will back that up for all the reasons why I say what I say. And then I would reverse it and say I'm all for effective and safe vaccines. So if they can show the efficacy and they can show the safety of such a vaccine, and the virus is still rampant, you know, like it is right now or whatever the case is, then I would make a choice based on that information. But as of right now, uh, as of right now, you know, I'm good.
Hey, Christine, what month did you take your flu shot? If you can answer that real quick. What month that you took the flu shot and got the flu? What month did you take the flu shot?
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a conversation with somebody and they said the same thing. I asked them what month, and when they told me, I just bust out laughing.
Oh.
Yeah, so I don't want to give her. I want her to be honest about which month that she take the flu shot.
Well, without answering that, I just know that the advertisement,
And how would she know she had the flu? Like, how she know when it's a bad cold?
yeah, flu and colds are
Right, but how would she know she had the flu?
yeah. But here's the thing, the advertisements for flu shots usually start at the beginning of the flu season.
Yeah, no, let her tell what month. She'll say February.
Yeah, she could be like February when it's all over with.
Right. They're
No,
like, yeah.
it's usually October though.
Yeah, yeah. So
September.
anyway, Christine, to decrease your chance of getting it, you like what y'all just said, you're supposed to take the flu shot at the beginning of the flu season. That's a recommended time frame. Okay. Anything after that, that's your fault. You're at risk. Okay.
Yeah. That's why they say
And,
early. Okay.
and also, I'm gonna say this real fast. Even if you catch the flu after having the flu shot, because the flu shot doesn't give you the flu, by the way. You'll find all information for that. But if you catch it afterwards, there's no guarantee, right? It's only 50, 60%. It's still the best, uh, uh, let's say, therapeutic medicine, or what they call therapeutic vaccine to treat the flu. It's still better than any CMOS, anything else. So the flu vaccine itself, if you still catch the flu, it still deals with the symptoms better than anything else you can take.
Yeah, and one thing's for sure, they don't have any definitive treatments, therapeutics, or vaccine for COVID-19. So I don't want it.
Right,
We
right.
don't. They don't even know the long-term effects of it. So even if a person gets it and has very mild symptoms and it's like a walk in the park for them, they don't know that 5 years, 10 years from now, they may develop some respiratory issues and stuff. And with all this smoking people do, weed smoking and stuff like that, people don't be needing to have any respiratory anything going on in their bodies. Same thing with a lot of these. If you notice, and here's something that you can compare. If you notice that in in the entertainment world, there's a point in time where body augmentation became very fashionable and like the thing to do in terms of butt injections, breast implants, lip jobs, and different things being done to the body. That's very very popular today. But at some point, it began to become popular. If you were to go back to that point in time, to the beginning of the popularity of it, and you look back then, a lot of people were getting it done. It was all good. But now as time has gone by, they realize there are some more long-term effects of doing those kinds of things. And so people are seeing complications from doing that stuff that they did 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago. And so that's what happens whenever something is introduced, like even with tattoos and a lot of things that people do fashion wise. It comes back to haunt them like later, like 20 years, 10, 20 years later and stuff like that. And so we got to understand that's how things work. And so um even with this particular issue, even though people don't get sick, you could be totally asymptomatic and never produce any outward symptoms, but you get infected, and then 20, 15, 10, 10, 15, 20 years from now, you may have some kind of complication that was a result of what took place 15 years prior. Okay. None of this stuff is known right now because it's too early. They don't know. Not enough time has gone by for it. So we don't know. Nobody knows. Um, and a case in point is one of the STDs, I think it's either gonorrhea or syphilis. There are people who are infected with those STDs, don't show symptoms, be asymptomatic. I know it's male or female. I know women show less symptoms for one of them than men, or whatever the case is. But the point is that if it goes undetected and untreated because you don't think you have it or you don't know you may have something, later on you may become infertile. It may affect your eyesight and other things later on in your life. And so that's similar to um, what we don't know about this particular virus. I'm just giving an analogy, not to say it's the exact same thing, but I'm saying this is the things that people have to be concerned about that I don't hear people talk about. Not enough stuff is known about this thing. And all I know is that, it's worsening right now. The numbers are going up. Um, the infection rate is going up. The positivity rate is going up. The morbidity rate is going down. the mortality rate is going down right now currently because the numbers went up, it plateaued. Now we're still on the downswing, but in some areas it's going back up. But overall, the moving average, I think they said, is starting to show signs of changing directions. And if that's the case, we're gonna have another peak like April. Come this month in July and August. So right now, all eyes are on that mortality rate, that number, because the infection rate has gone up, spiking. Florida. Hold on, let me show y'all this. I supposed to been got off here. See, that's messed up. This is why I had this pulled up. Okay. Here, wait a minute. I think I had a slide for it. Yeah, because I want to show you all my arrows. Okay. I just took a snapshot of the same website I was just showing you. So here's how you here's how you deal with the numbers. Here's the positivity rate. The positivity rate currently, as of today, is 8%. What that means is that 8 out of 100 people tested. Excuse me, 8 out of 100 people tested is testing positive. So for every 100 people that get tested, 8 of those people are testing positive right now. That's the positivity rate. Okay, so now here's how you get the number. You take the total number of tests, which is 39 million, and you use that number against the total cases. Okay, and so that's where you get the 8%. And now, so what does that mean? Now, I want to just draw your attention here in the yellow. Right now, the total number of cases in the United States, this is the United States, by the way. You can see USA. The total number of cases in the United States is 3.1 million. This is the number. This is the number of new cases, 61,602 new cases in one day. That's how many cases came in one day. 61,602 in one day. And the total number of new deaths in the United States is 879 for a 24-hour period. Brazil is number 1 with 1,100. Total recovered is 1.3 million. That's the total. Active cases is 1.6 million. And by active cases, they are usually talking about people that are hospitalized. And then they break it down to serious or critical, which is 15,000. And then they give you some other metrics. But this is total number of tests, 39 million. I must say 39.5 million people have been tested out of 331 million for the whole population. So just about a tenth of the United States population has been tested now, which is still low in terms of determining these numbers to really get a grasp on the behavior of the virus and everything. But anyway, so I'm about to get off here. So I appreciate everybody tuning in and sticking it out with me. And I'm gonna do this again, different topic. I'm just gonna pop up. So make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell. And if you have the time, chime in. But I'm looking for people to participate. I post a link every time. And for the life of me, I don't understand why on my Facebook, a lot of people have a lot to say. And then when I go live on Facebook or YouTube, they're nowhere to be found. And I'm talking about in the middle of them commenting. I'm talking about like I will go live in the middle of a sentence. Because I know they're watching, I know they're commenting, I know they're watching my page,
Right.
and I'm live on Facebook, but they're nowhere to be found when I go live. And I invite anybody. I give everybody consideration. I know people.
All right.
So anyway, I'm gonna keep doing this as these different topics come up and everything. So anyway, so I appreciate you coming through Unbiased, and I'm gonna do it again.
Yes, sir.
And I'll
My
talk to you.
favorite topic.
Peace.
Peace.
All right, peace.